And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hassanzadeh versus Clark. Step forward, please.
Kimberly Hassanzadeh and her daughter, 17-year-old Ashley, are suing singer Paul Clark and his son, 17-year-old Jeremy, for damage to her car. Ashley claims Jeremy and his friends pelted her with pudding.
What's your first name?
Jeremy.
How old are you, Jeremy?
17.
Are you an idiot?
No.
Is this your father?
Yes, it is.
Do you think your father would be very distressed to learn that after all that he's invested in you, he invested in an idiot?
I suppose so.
Yeah, right? Spent all that money? Let him drive a car? What kind of car was your father letting you drive?
This was a 91 Accord.
And who owns it?
It was actually my grandmother's.
So you have a grandmother who indulges you too?
Yeah.
Are you an only child, Jeremy?
No.
You have older siblings?
I have 2 older sisters and an older brother.
So you're the baby. Oh! There goes the problem, Mr. Clark. He's the baby. Ashley, did you know Jeremy before this event?
No, I did not.
Ashley's just driving her car, and you were driving your grandmother's car, and there were some other friends of yours that were in their cars.
Yes.
And some other friends who were also idiots, and they decided to throw pudding.
Yeah.
Not anything bad, just pudding.
Yeah, it's just...
What kind of pudding? Chocolate pudding, vanilla pudding?
It was a vanilla chocolate swirl.
And had you all gotten these pudding cups before you got into your cars?
Yeah.
Where did you get them from, Jeremy?
The local grocery store.
You bought a 6-pack?
I think there's 2 6-packs per car. There's 3 cars.
Did you have spoons?
I actually did. Because
Okay. No, I'm trying to put this all together. You don't mind if I do this to your son, do you, Mr. Clark?
Fine, ma'am.
Okay, now you're driving your grandmother's car.
Yes.
And you acknowledge that you, in fact, did toss pudding out of the car.
Yes.
But it is your contention that your pudding didn't hit her car. It was somebody else's pudding that hit her car.
It was a failed attempt.
You had a failed attempt. And so that's your defense.
Yes.
You say his pudding landed in your car.
Yes.
Okay. You're driving along and you have your pudding in your hand.
Not while I was driving, no.
Where was it?
It was in the center console.
Now, what prompted you, Jeremy, to pick up that pudding and chuck it out of your car?
The initial was that they flipped us off and sped off.
Ashley and her friends?
Yes.
Let me ask you this question. When you say they flipped you off, you do not have to demonstrate. Bird understands what that means, and so do I.
Yeah.
Were you saying anything to them, or any of your friends?
There was a light conversation, but...
There was light conversation?
Yeah, it wasn't very long.
Like what kind of light conversation?
Well, we were driving next to him, and I had waved to him because they're looking over, so I politely waved.
Show me how you did that.
Kind of just a, hey, how you doing type wave. We're going 45, 50 miles an hour down the road, and you can't really tell what they're saying.
Okay, so then they flipped you off, and you got mad. And did they flip you off or your friends as well?
Well, it was the car. It was kind of, they took off and...
Well, but there was more than one car.
True,
so
but yeah,
you went like
it was
this.
my car.
So you were the one that was
yeah.
disrespected.
Yes, I felt disrespected.
Do you have a photograph of your car?
I took these photographs after she had cleaned it, but it will still show it got on the speaker, that it's the area she couldn't get it because it's convertible and the top was down. And she could not get it out of all the little areas.
Okay, did you pay to have it cleaned?
Yes. Here's the receipt. And we just asked them to clean the areas where the pudding had gotten into the speaker and all the little areas of her soft top. The convertible top was down.
Okay. Now, Jeremy, who was it who landed their pudding in the plaintiff's car?
We actually don't know. We know what car it came from.
That's all I want to know.
Okay.
You actually don't know.
We actually
But
don't
it would
know.
be safe to say, Jeremy, since you were the one who was disrespected,
Yes.
and you were the one who threw the pudding first, even though it didn't land on the car, right?
Uh-huh.
Listen to this logic, Jeremy.
Okay.
You seem like a you know, at least academically smart boy.
Well, thank you.
Not socially adept, but academically smart boy. It would be a fair statement that your friends followed suit in the other cars, right?
Yes.
So you are a leader.
I am.
You know what leaders do?
Leader.
They take responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So now we have, for your team, $89.99 plus tax, $96.76 for detailing. He's got to pay for being a fool. That's all. Right?
Right.
Good. No excuses. I love it. I love it. He's not such an idiot after all, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, ma'am.
All that money that you spent on the baby wasn't wasted. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $96.76. Thank you.
Yeah, this is case number 98 on the calendar in the amount of McIntosh versus Sexton. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
A fight over a man. How stupid can you get? And where is this man that we were all fighting over?
Are you asking me, Judge?
Anybody who will answer my question.
Oh, he's incarcerated at the present time.
Great.
He's not really the reason why we're here, though. He was irrelevant to this.
No, he's not irrelevant, but for the fact that each of you were related to him in some way by affection, you wouldn't be here. Is that right?
Oh, I don't know what she had going with him, but I know he respected me. So I don't know exactly what she had going with him.
All right, Ms. McIntosh, it's your claim that Ms. Sexton assaulted you.
Yes.
She assaulted you with a bottle. You were seriously injured. According to you, you wanted to pay for that. You were briefly involved with the defendant's boyfriend. You didn't know that he had a girlfriend, according to you.
Yes.
And anyway, somehow that escalated. You're going to tell me the story. Ms. Sexton said that she acted in self-defense, that you picked up a bottle first to hit her. She got the bottle out of your hand, and so she bopped you with the bottle. This was really a brawl. She says in her counterclaim that you damaged her car on 2 separate occasions, and that she wants you to pay for her legal fees that she spent in defending these assault charges. So that's your counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you currently pregnant, Ms. Sexton?
Yes, I am.
And the father of this child is the person who is currently incarcerated?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any other children with him?
No, ma'am.
Did you become pregnant after you found out that he was fooling around with an underage person?
Well, actually,
Just answer my question. That's either yes or no.
Well, yes.
Another testament to your good judgment. How old are you?
18.
How old are you, Miss Sexton?
I'm 27.
You have children?
No.
Okay, Miss McIntosh, let's hear it.
On August 18, 2002, I had my sister take me to a friend's house to retrieve a necklace I left over there.
What time?
It was like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Go ahead. I must be living in another culture.
So, as I was inside of the residence...
What do you do for a living?
I'm a student.
What day of the week was August 18th?
A Sunday.
What do you do during the summer?
Nothing.
Why?
Because I'm a student. I go to school right now.
You were going to school in August of 2002?
School hasn't started yet.
So what were you doing?
Nothing.
Didn't you ever hear of working?
Huh? Yes.
That's what most 17-year-olds do during the summer when they're not in school. That keeps them out of trouble, so that they're not out at 2 o'clock in the morning going to retrieve a necklace. You're her friend?
I'm her sister.
Sister. I won't even ask what you were doing, because you're older than 18?
Yes.
So you were on your way to retrieve a necklace at 2 o'clock in the morning from a friend's house. And what happened?
While I was inside of the residence, the defendant...
Inside of what residence?
My friend's house.
Who's your friend?
My boyfriend.
Oh, so that's the boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't a girlfriend's house you were going over
No.
to. Your sister was taking you over to your boyfriend's house to get a necklace that you had allegedly left there. Is that right?
Yes.
Who did he live with?
His mother.
Is she normal?
Yes.
What do you think some normal person would think of a young 17-year-old popping by at 2 o'clock in the morning?
She was asleep.
So what happened when you got there?
While I was inside of the residence, the defendant, Alicia Sexton...
Just a second. You were inside with the boyfriend?
Yes.
How long had you been there inside?
Like 3 minutes.
And where was your sister?
Outside in a car waiting for me.
Actually, Your Honor, that's not.
I don't want to hear
Okay.
it yet. So you're inside with the boyfriend at his mother's house at 2 o'clock in the morning. And
the defendant came in, Alicia Sexton walked in with my friend's little brother. She came in and she asked me what my name was. I replied, Sita, and she struck me upside the head with a bottle. I then fell, she got on top of me or whatever and started hitting me. My friend broke it up or whatever.
you're talking in terms of this boyfriend
Yes.
who's in jail.
Yes.
He broke it up.
Yes.
Go ahead.
As I ran outside, Alicia came after me. She had the bottle in her hand. She threw it at me, but it missed me. And then she got on top of me. When she slammed me, she got on top of me again. That's when my friend and my sister came over there and they broke the fight up. My sister didn't rush me to emergency. I had 11 stitches. I got cut 2 different spots, 8 up here and 3 down here. I have pictures.
Let me see. Okay. Let me hear your version of the events, Miss Sexton.
Actually, Judge, it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I was on my way over to pick my boyfriend up. We lived together. He was at his mother's house while I was at the casino.
What were you doing there?
I was gambling.
Now, you and this boyfriend lived together?
Yes, we lived at my home.
Who else lives there?
Just me and him.
How long have you been living there?
We've been living together for about 4 years now.
Go ahead.
This is actually a housing project where I was picking him up from. When I pulled up outside, I seen this young lady run in the house. She wasn't already in the house. She was outside with a bunch of people. I was not even aware of this girl, who she was, didn't know what she looked like or anything. She ran in the house, at which time his little brother showed up, and I went in the house with him. Well, he was trying to push her out the back door at the time, my boyfriend. She wouldn't go. So I said, who are you? And she said, I'm Sita. And I said, oh, you came to my house and busted out my car windows, because she had already came to my house before on an incident prior to this and did damage to my vehicle.
How do you know that?
I have police reports with witnesses that seen her do it.
Well, you never filed any charges with regard to that.
I tried to file charges for the destruction of property in that case, ma'am. Yes, I did.
Do you have any witnesses here that saw her do it?
No, but it's in the police report.
I don't care what's in the police report.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Said you broke out my car windows, and she said, yeah, I did, and what you gonna do about it?
So you showed her what you were going to do about it. So you hit her.
We were fighting each other.
Oh, no.
I don't know if I landed the first punch or she did.
Miss Sexton, you know everything else.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Larceta McIntosh claims she and Alicia Sexton had a physical brawl over a man. Larceta says Alicia hit her in the face with a bottle.
So, at the time you saw her and she told you her name.
Right.
According to you, then you knew who she was.
Then I knew who she was.
You had never called her before.
No.
Because she says you called her house a year
No,
before.
ma'am.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I called her mother prior to that.
Thank you. Well, that's what I want to know. You called her mother.
But not her.
What? Don't play with me.
Right. I called her mother.
What did you say to her mother?
I asked her mother, was she aware that her daughter had called me and told me she was having intimate relations with my grown boyfriend that was of age, and he shouldn't be having intimate relations with her, and that if he was...
So she called you?
She called my house first to tell me of this relationship she was having with him. And so at the time, I was trying to get this resolved because she was underage and I'm grown. And so the mother said that, no, her daughter was just lying, and her daughter told me this, that her daughter was just trying to make me mad.
When did her daughter tell you this?
Like she had to be about 15, maybe 16 then.
So you did speak to her on the phone?
Yes, she called my home. I didn't call her house.
So then she called you and you spoke to her?
Yeah, and then I, in return, called her mother to see what was going on. And so when I did call her mother said she was just trying to make me jealous. I told her mother that her daughter told me that she was having relations with him and that he was too old to have relations with her, and if that was really the deal, that I wanted to know.
Okay. The boyfriend is trying to push her out the back door because you're coming in the front door, and what happened?
Like I said, I was coming to where they were standing. She was standing right behind him. I asked her, who was she? I wasn't even aware of who this girl was at that time.
Well, what did you say to her?
I said, you came to my house and busted out my car windows, and she said, you know, real cocky or whatever, and she said, I'm Sita. And I said, oh, and we started a physical confrontation at that point.
So before you asked who she was, you said to her, you came to my house and broke out my car window.
Right.
So you knew who she was.
No,
Miss Sexton, that's what you just said.
I didn't know who she was by her looks. I just figured that was her because she made her presence appearance when I pulled up.
Listen to me. You just said to me that when you walked into the house, you said to her, you broke out my car windows.
After she said that she was Sita.
No, that's not what you just told me 2 seconds ago.
That's what I meant to say. That's how it went.
You knew who she was.
Well, I kind of had an idea when she made herself present.
Let's not play with each other.
But I didn't know
I don't
who
have
she
time.
was.
I'm speaking. Don't try to talk over me.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And so at that time, we started a physical confrontation.
Look at my eyes. What do you mean at that time we started a physical confrontation?
We started fighting.
Somebody always starts fighting first. So give me a step-by-step of what happened.
I asked her, like I said, who she was. She told me who she was. And at that time, I said, you came to my house and you broke out my car windows. And she said, yeah, I did. And what you gonna do about it?
And?
So we started fighting.
So you showed her what you were going to do about it.
We fell on a coffee table, and the coffee table
So you hit her. So you hit her.
We were fighting each other.
No.
I don't know if I landed the first punch or she did.
Miss Sexton, you know everything else. You know what you said. You know what the boyfriend said. You know about the little brothers. You know everything else. But you can't tell me who hit who first.
Well, we started fighting at that point.
Okay. Well, if you don't know who hit who first. Did she hit you first?
She hit me with the bottle.
Well, since you don't remember, babe.
I didn't hit her with the bottle.
Listen to me. Since you don't remember, I have to assume that she remembers. If you just said to me, I don't remember, then I conclude that you hit her first. Because if you don't remember, and one person says I remember, and logically it makes sense to me that, you would hit her.
I hit her with the bottle, and I did not.
Well, I don't care what you hit her with.
We fell on a coffee table, a glass coffee table, and broke it, Your Honor.
Well, let me tell you something, madam. If the fight started because you hit her first, and in self-defense she reacted, you are still liable. And I have no idea why the police dismissed these charges against you.
They never even came and spoke to me.
Well, that's some police department. You are responsible for her injuries. Since you don't remember, and she does, you're responsible. You had hospital bills? In what amount?
My hospital bills came up to, like $730.
And was there an insurance deductible?
I don't care whether there was or whether there wasn't. She's suing. I'm speaking.
And that's for why the case was dismissed.
Can I see it, please?
I think the hospital bill in back of the police report.
Oh, it was dismissed on a speedy trial motion. Is that right?
Yep.
So the DA didn't move fast enough.
Yes, that's correct. That was the only reason.
They must be very busy in Douglas County, Nebraska. You're suing her for $2,000 for both the medical bills and your pain and suffering. You are entitled to that. So on your complaint, I am going to award you $2,000. Ms. Sexton, you have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim states that she damaged your car. You have proof of that?
In the police reports, the police spoke to the witnesses.
And that's the only proof that you have?
Well, in that I seen her actually bust my window out at one time.
I don't believe that, because if you had seen her busting out your car window, then you would have put that in your answer and in your counterclaim. You chose not to do that, and even the person who you brought with you was shaking her head no. Isn't that right? Isn't that right?
No, it's incorrect.
Oh, yeah, she saw her bust out her window?
Yes, I did.
Oh, how come it's not in the answer that you put here, madam?
Caused damages to my vehicle on 8/17 and 7/13. It is in there. She caused damages.
No. You didn't tell me that you observed it.
If I may.
Step up. Who are you?
I'm her mother.
Did you observe her? Did you make...
I did not observe her. She has a protection order against me, and I have one against them also. The first time that her windows got broken out at her home, she called me at 5:30 in the morning. I went up there. I looked at her caller ID. She said that the girl had been harassing her all night.
There's no question in my mind that this 17-year-old girl
got infatuated.
Be quiet.
Yeah, your judgment's not terrific, Miss Sexton. Your mother can attest to that, isn't that right?
On some things, yes.
There's no question in my mind that this 17-year-old girl was strung along by this person currently incarcerated. soon to be a father. There's no question that she acted inappropriately for a 17-year-old or for a 27-year-old or for a 15-year-old. Your daughter is supposed to be older and smarter.
And I called her parents, the 17-year-old's parents, at that time. Spoke to the father first. The father told me that she was out of control, that yes, she was out all night, that they didn't know where she was, that that's the type, that's what's the car.
She's out of control.
She was supposed to be on a curfew at the time, ma'am.
Put yourself down.
Well, anyway, I asked them, I said, well, can you do something with her? She can't keep coming up here, calling here, breaking out windows, causing all this damage. Something's going to happen, and one of them are going to end up getting hurt eventually. Later that day, her mother called my house, told me that I was going to bury my daughter with my other dead daughter. And I said, if anything happens to my daughter, your daughter's the one coming up here. So I went back and forth.
What does this have to do with car windows?
It just kept going back and forth.
Listen to me. What does this have to do with car windows?
The damage is excessive, and it kept doing it, and she kept coming to her home. My daughter never went to her home, never called her, anything.
Listen to me. In all probability, she did it. Just give me proof.
Well, the only proof I have is the witnesses that are in the police reports, ma'am.
Well, I can't use that, madam.
Well, I did ask if I could bring notarized statements or anything. They said no.
Right.
Right.
So. No, you could bring witnesses.
Well, these are older people that own businesses and couldn't come.
Then I can't help you.
And then at the housing project that night, the mother of the defendant told her, do not break out her windows, because they were threatening to, and she saw her break it out.
Tell me what you saw.
I'm going to tell you what exactly happened. We had a confrontation in the house. At that time, we went outside, and she didn't rush to no hospital. We went outside and fought 3 more times before she left.
Yes.
To tell you the truth. She didn't rush to no hospital.
Keep going.
The first time that they broke it up, she went outside and she was all mad and everything. So at that time, she was outside. She bust my window out with a baseball bat.
Just don't give me a long explanation. I want you to look through the police report and you tell me if anywhere in the police report you told the police that you saw her with your eyes break out your car window. Take a moment and look through the police report.
I already know
and
what
let
the
your
police
mother
report
help you.
says.
Put your hand down. I'm not interested in you.
I know what the police report says.
No.
I did. No, in the police report, no, I didn't. The police never showed up that night. They never came. That's why I was unable to tell them that.
At any place in the police report from the next day, 2 days later, 3 days later, because they add on to police reports, you know, when you make additional reports, any place, does it say that you told the police that you saw her break out your car window?
No, it doesn't.
Sorry, can't help you. Miss McIntosh, reluctantly, I am awarding you what you are requesting, which is $2,000, because you were, in fact, assaulted by Miss Sexton, and I believe that she threw the first punch. But I think that you probably were out of control, smitten with a loser who happens now to belong, at least temporarily, to Miss Sexton when he gets finished belonging to the state of Nebraska. Is your last name Sexton?
No.
What is your last name?
Buckley.
Miss Buckley, your daughter has made some serious errors in judgment. And I would hope that now that she's going to have a child, you try to inculcate into her some responsibility.
That was his judgment. I don't.
No, it was your judgment, Miss Sexton. It was your judgment to get yourself hooked up with and get pregnant by somebody who
that respected me, that I didn't know anything about disrespecting me.
Oh, save me. Bird, get him outside.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is case number 135 on the calendar in the matter of Totter versus Ferrier.
Totter, is that how you pronounce your name?
I'm going to say Toto.
Totter versus Ferrier. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Thanks, Bird.
You're welcome, Judge.
Mr. Ferrier is your former husband, is that right? Mm-hmm. And the co-defendant is his present wife. It is your claim that Mrs. Ferrier called your boss and made some slanderous remarks about you, which caused you a great deal of emotional distress, caused you to have to hire a lawyer, a whole bunch of other things. You want a whole bunch of money from the two of them because you think that they're both responsible. Your former husband and his wife say that you did in fact harass both of them, that they've suffered by having to lose wages because work-related absences, and they are counterclaiming. So I want you to tell me, this whole thing started over a $10 check, is that right? Mm-hmm. You have a child together with Mr. Ferrier.
Yes.
How old is that child?
Now he's 12 and a half.
And who has custody?
We have joined. I had custody, full custody the first 11 years.
Is that right?
I have custody of him, Your Honor.
You have
physical custody.
We have
but
joint.
It's joint custody.
You have joint legal. Shh, just a second. You have joint legal custody, but you have physical custody
yes,
of him.
Your Honor.
Is that by court order?
Yes.
Okay. So tell me about this check that you got back.
I found out
that you didn't get back.
I found out that I overpaid and
overpaid what?
On the medical bill.
You got a medical bill for your son.
Uh-huh.
What was the bill for?
$63.36.
Put the papers down, please. And you paid that bill.
Mm-hmm.
And then you found out that you had overpaid the bill, according to your complaint. How much did you overpay the bill?
$10.69.
Your insurance company sent back a check for $10.69. Who did they send the check to?
To his address.
In whose name was the check?
My son.
And your son's name is?
Shane Ferrier.
And what did Shane do with the check?
All I know is that they both signed it. My son signed it, and my ex-husband signed it.
And that started a problem?
I was very upset. I felt like they took something that didn't belong to them.
So what did you do?
I made a few phone calls.
How many is a few?
From the house that evening, October 7th, I don't remember how many.
More than 5?
I don't know. Maybe 3.
How many phone calls?
Your Honor, I can't remember how many phone calls. She called in the middle of the night. We changed our phone 3 times because of the harassment.
Well, did that start over this $10?
Yes.
Your right says no.
I'm
you
sorry.
say yes.
No, it started before. This started 12 years ago.
Okay, I'm just talking about this $10 check. So you made some phone calls from the house, Ms. Toder, is that right?
Yeah, it was a few phone calls.
Well, what
And
did you say? Shh, listen
I'm sorry,
to me.
it was not in the middle of the night. It was after I came back from the job. It was after 5 p.m.
What did you say during these 3?
I told them that they're not decent people and they're teaching my son to be a thief.
Okay, that takes 1 phone call. What was the next phone call?
Same thing.
And the next one?
Same thing.
Well, that's harassment.
But it was the one case.
Just a second. I'm not finished with you. Then you went to work. And you called them again from work. Is that right?
Yeah.
How many times did you call them from work?
6 times in 2 days.
And what did you say to them in the 6 times you called
Probably the same thing. I was probably very upset
and
over the whole thing.
then Mrs. Ferrier, you called her boss.
Yes, ma'am.
And you said what to her boss?
I called her boss and I said that we were getting a lot of phone calls and I wanted him to talk to her.
About stopping calling during the day?
Yes, and he had no interest in any of it until he found out that they were coming from work.
Well, she admits now that they were coming from work.
So,
so that's what you told was that you were getting these harassing phone calls and they were coming during work hours.
Right.
That's what your lawsuit is about, Ms. Toder. You say that she made slanderous remarks against you to your boss, which caused you all kinds of trouble and aggravation and emotional distress. So tell me what kind of aggravation and emotional distress was caused to you.
Can I say something, Your Honor? She told them I made 100 phone calls from the job like 2 years ago.
I'm talking about $10.69. I asked you a question. What kind of emotional distress do you believe that you suffered that they should compensate you for?
Okay, first of all, they took me to a drug test.
So, what does that have to do with her?
Because she doesn't know me. We never spoke to each other.
Listen to me. What does that have to do with her if you went for a drug test?
That's what she told them, that I was doing drugs.
Did you tell them that she was doing drugs? What proof do you have that Miss Ferrier told them that you were using drugs?
Allegation number 4.
This doesn't say that Mr. or Mrs. Ferrier say that you continue to use marijuana, alcohol to an excess and abuse prescription drugs. It doesn't say that they said this about you. This says that they complained about harassing phone calls. And then another paragraph says it is further alleged that you are continuing to use marijuana, alcohol to excess, and abuse prescription drugs. Did you tell them that?
No,
The
I did
investigator
not.
told me that they did.
Well, I don't know. That's hearsay. Did you ever use marijuana?
No.
Did you ever use alcohol?
I drink alcohol, but I don't abuse it.
Well, maybe. And what about prescription drugs? What drugs do you take?
I used to take Xanax.
And what else do you take?
I got something new after this attack started. I'm not sure the name of it.
You're not sure of the kind of drug you take?
No,
That's interesting.
I can't pronounce it.
Why are you laughing?
Just because Your Honor, I can't understand anybody that could take a prescription and not know the name of it.
Try to behave yourself.
Okay, Your Honor.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The rambling is of somebody who is using or overusing prescription drugs. It says that she's afraid that you're going to be abusive, but please take her son because she can't take care of him because he's out of control and she's going on her honeymoon.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shoshana Toder says ex-husband William Ferrier and his wife Kathy made false allegations to her employer. The Ferriers claim she harassed them over the phone.
Okay. And as a result of whatever allegations these were, mostly use of the telephone, what happened?
I was just upset, Joanna.
Well, then you shouldn't have done what you did, madam.
I understand it. But
so then why are you here in court?
In the heat of the moment, because I had expenses.
Well, what does that have to do with court? You made a mistake. You made a mistake by calling, at least according to you, 9 times, all complaining because they cashed a $10.69 check that they received that was made out to your son, who I assume you support. Is that right?
No.
Well, if you don't support him, then why would you complain anyway if they cashed a $10.69?
I'm not supposed to support him yet.
Listen to me. You are a parent. You're supposed to support him. He's not in your custody.
I understand.
If he's not in your custody, then you're supposed to support him. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you're off the hook. If you were a man standing over here and saying, I'm not supposed to support him yet, what does that mean? You're the parent. Did you pay support when the child lived with her?
Yes.
How much?
He's a deadbeat, by the way.
How much?
$500 a month, Your Honor, the maximum amount. She asked for $1,100, and the judge told her no.
I don't ask. Did I ask you to editorialize for me, sir?
No, you didn't.
Good. So, and you pay, I don't care how much you paid. If you didn't pay $500, you paid $300, you paid $300, you paid $200. You pay nothing. So if you pay nothing, and if you're just angry that your son went to live with his father.
No, I'm really not angry, Your Honor.
Then you shouldn't have been angry over a $10.69 check.
Your Honor, I'm not angry about him because I know my ex-husband wanted it, and my son came to me and told me, Mom, I was with you for 11 years, now I want to be with Dad. So I said, okay. I was going to fight for him, but when he told me that, I said, okay, go to your dad and be happy. But she's not happy about that. She doesn't want to raise a 7th kid.
Listen to me, madam. I don't know why you came to court. You did the wrong thing, causing you to have expenses, then you have to pay for them. If you wanted to call up and speak to your ex-husband once and say, listen, I understand that you got this check for $10.69. That check really belonged to me because I paid...
I can't communicate with him, Your Honor.
Hey, I'm speaking to you. You called 9 times. You were harassing them. I said if you called once and said it, that was one thing. That's not what you told me.
He hung up on me. I can't talk to him. Ever since they got married. Then that
means he didn't want to talk to you.
Well, that doesn't help my kid.
Then write him a letter. What good does it do to you for you to harass him on the telephone?
That was not meant as harassment.
Well, I'm telling you, it's harassment. So you have no case. Now, let's turn to you.
Your Honor, what I've gone through, I have had more temporary restraining orders filed by Mrs. Toder, or Miss Toder, my former ex-wife, or my ex-wife. And she has taken me to court, and when we were in front of the judge in Las Vegas, she didn't show up for the temporary restraining order. Twice she didn't. Or no, the first time she showed up...
This is the restraining orders that she took out against you.
She's using the court as a form of harassment, and she's been doing it to me for a long time.
Speak.
What happened is when she took me in front of the judge said, well, do you want to continue? Do you feel he's...
Hearsay.
Pardon?
What the judge said to you was hearsay unless you have a document from the court.
I do.
Let me see.
I have a document.
Good. Let me see it.
Not for the first one. I have one for the second one that she never showed up for. Okay? And she said she was on her honeymoon. And that's what I'm talking about. Here she even writes, is this it here? She writes in here that I'm going to be on my honeymoon, so I can't even make it to the court hearing. I believe it's this one here.
So what do you want me to do?
Well, I'm just saying, this is what I'd like her to be able to stop using the court as a form of harassment, because she's had me in court so many times, and I always feel like I'm the defendant and that I have to defend myself.
Well, you are the defendant now, sir.
Courts. I didn't even want to be here today, even though you're a fine person, but this is not where I want to spend my time in court.
I absolutely got it. Was she granted a temporary restraining order as a result of this application?
No, Your Honor, she wasn't.
She was not.
She was denied.
Of course she was. Of course she was, because there is no basis for it in her application. There's no basis for her to get a temporary restraining order based upon what she alleges here. It's the ramblings of somebody who is using or overusing prescription drugs. Go ahead.
Your Honor, that's what I'm saying, that she's using the court as a form of harassment.
Okay, there is absolutely no basis for her to get an order of protection based upon what she writes in here. It's a lot of garbage. It says that she's afraid that you're going to be abusive, but she wants you to take her son because she can't take care of him because he's out of control, and she's going on her honeymoon. Go ahead.
Your Honor, he's doing very well in school now.
Tell me what you want.
We want the court, her not to be able to use the court to drag me through.
Mr. Ferrier, all too often people abuse the system, and they take time away from cases that need court time because they got their own personal shtick that they want to take care of. Now, your ex-wife came here to court, and if it wasn't this court, it would have been someplace else, because she was complaining that she had expenses and embarrassment as a result of your wife calling her boss. She caused the problem. She harassed you. She called time after time after time to complain about the cashing of this $10.69 check. By the way, what did you do with that money? Did you have it?
My son kept the money, and he even called her and offered to do chores for her to pay her back, and she said, no, I want your father to pay it back. And I said, no, I'm not paying it back.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead. Shh, go ahead.
Okay, on May 14, I had a chat with him for the first time in a year. And all I want is really to communicate with him, you know, regarding our son. But ever since he got married, I don't feel that I can. He either hangs up on me, she hangs up on me, or whatever. And I asked him about contacting my job, and I said, Sean, why did you contact my job? And he said to me, I had nothing to do with it. And I said, Sean, your name is on it. And he said, I had to keep my wife happy. I think that's a lame excuse to keep the wife happy, so.
You did the wrong thing. Stop blaming everybody else. You had no right to call their home 3 times. I guarantee it was a lot more. You have the tape?
We have tapes of what she said, Your Honor.
Well, let me hear them. Let me hear them.
I'm not denying it, that I made these phone calls.
They're a little nastier than what you said.
You're nasty, Sean.
I don't slander.
I can't hear it. Can you bring it up here, please?
He's very cute.
I never denied I made these phone calls.
Well, they get real nice.
Could you please be quiet?
Yes, Your Honor.
How low can you get, John? How much lower? I want to see how much lower can you get to us. Yeah, the message. Sean, you know that was very indecent of you. Shane should have signed over the check to me. I'm the one who pays the bill, okay? But that's okay, because all your letters that you get from credit companies, I cite them. So the penalty is going every year. You want to be with me? I'll be with you. End of message. Indecent of you. Shane should have signed over the check to me. I'm the one who paid the bill, okay? But that's okay, because all your letters that you get from credit companies, I cite them. So the
that's a repeat.
I think that's a repeat.
That's a repeat. Okay.
I never denied I made this phone call.
I want to tell you something. You just acknowledged on that tape a federal crime. Do you understand that? If you're getting mail of his from credit card companies and shredding it, that's a federal crime. That's
I'm not doing.
I'm speaking to you.
I'm not getting his mail.
I'm speaking to you. That's what you said you did on the tape.
Wanted to put him off. I don't get his mail.
You got it, madam. That's what you wanted to do. And you succeeded. And so stop standing here complaining and abusing the courts again. Your case is dismissed. And all I can tell you is I'm not going to be able to stop her from filing these frivolous claims. It's going to have to be a judge in your jurisdiction that has some chutzpah. All right? You thought I was going to say it, didn't you? Who's going to say to her, you come in 9 o'clock in the morning, you wait until 5 o'clock till the end of my calendar every time you want to file a petition. You come in, you explain to me what you want to file, you explain to me why, and I'll see if I'm going to give you permission to file that case. Until you get a judge that's going to be able to say that she's going to continue to abuse the system. But I find it offensive when someone abuses the system, they abuse the system, they abuse me. Because they're abusing the other people. When she came in and filed this piece of garbage, that took time away from a clerk to fill out papers, her papers. Other people were waiting. They had to wait an extra hour or two because she was filing this piece of trash. And then it took time from a judge to hear it.
He told me to buy a life vest. I mean,
I'm telling you to, and I'm telling you better. I'm telling you to get a life. Your case is dismissed. So's your counterclaim. I've given you my best advice. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may... Yeah, this is case number 290 on the calendar in the matter of Turner versus Montoya. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Turner, you look very angry, sir.
Yes, I am.
Life is short, Mr. Turner. This gentleman here is your daughter's ex-boyfriend. This is your daughter?
Yes, it is.
Beautiful girl. How old are you?
21.
How long were you and Miss Turner dating?
Approximately 4 years.
And how old are you, Mr. Montoya?
26.
And during the 4 or so years that you were dating Miss Turner, I assume that you did not have a positive relationship with her father.
Not at all. Since the beginning, he never gave me a chance.
How many daughters do you have, Mr. Turner?
I have 2. I have a 13-year-old also.
Nobody's ever good enough for your daughter, right?
That's correct.
I got it. You know. Because your lawsuit really is pretty silly. When I read it.
I agree.
When I read it and I saw you and I saw your daughter, I said, this lawsuit is more than just about a cell phone that you say that Mr. Montoya stole that you had given to your daughter, because this is what this lawsuit is about. Your claim is that he had a fight with your daughter, which was really, according to you, pretty serious. You know, he ripped her dress, according to you. He rammed into her car, according to you. He stole a cell phone. He attacked her at home. All of those bad things. And all I'm hearing is your lawsuit is for $265.49 because you claim that he stole a cell phone that you had given your daughter.
Yes, he...
Okay. So now I want you to tell me why you're suing this man for $265 for a cell phone. First, well, when did you give your daughter the cell phone?
Well, it was my phone. I gave it to her that evening when she was going to go to a modeling shooting.
But it was your phone?
Yes.
Your number, it was regularly in your possession. You just lent it to her that night?
Exactly.
I see. And you don't exactly know what happened that evening because you weren't there?
No.
But your daughter was?
Yes.
What night did you have the last fight with your boyfriend?
It was around the end of July. I don't remember the exact date.
Do you know Mr. Turner?
It was the 27th.
Tell me what happened.
We got into a big argument because I wanted to go to a modeling convention and he wanted to go, but I didn't want him to go.
He didn't want to go?
No, I didn't want him
to go to a modeling convention?
Yeah, and he wanted to go, but I didn't want him to go.
Oh, he wanted to go with you?
Yeah.
He's worried. Right?
Was.
You were worried at that time?
Yes, Your Honor, I was.
So you like to sort of keep an eye on your girl?
She's a pretty girl. I want to keep an eye on her.
Right. Bird, do me a favor. Would you just change position over there and step in between these two people? I would appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so he wanted to go with you. You said, stay home, and you got into an argument.
Correct.
Go ahead.
So he said he'll make sure I won't go, so that's when he ripped my dress. But he just ripped like a long slit in it where it'll show my underwear, so I couldn't wear the dress. But
did you do that?
Yeah, I admit to that. That's true.
So I changed outfits, and I still decided to go.
Were you living together at the time?
Yes.
How long had you been living together?
We lived together for a year.
For how long didn't your father approve of this arrangement? Long time?
He didn't mind that we were living together, just towards the end when a lot of arguments and things were going on. Him and Mr. Montoya were friends at one point.
But not recently?
Correct.
So what happened next?
So I went to the service station and he was there, and while I was pumping gas, he took my dad's cell phone, and I asked Montoya to return it to me, and he just got in the car and left.
Totally untrue.
What did you do?
I didn't even see her at any gas station. And I have one comment to make. They said that this occurred on the 27th, I believe her or her dad just said. I have a written statement that she wrote right here which says that it occurred on August 3rd.
Let me see.
All these allegations are totally unfalse.
Are totally unfalse?
Totally untrue, I mean, sorry. Mr. Turner has a restraining order against me. And basically, ever since he received this restraining order against me, he's been doing everything possible to try to get me thrown in jail.
You have a child together?
Yes.
Yes.
How old is your child?
He's 2.
Who is he living with now?
He's living with me.
And who are you living with?
My father.
Now, sir, did she call the police when you ripped her dress?
No.
She could have.
She could have.
Right? Because that's a violent act.
Okay,
right?
but...
Right? It's a violent
Yes,
act. She
that's
could have, and she didn't. Why do you think she would lie to me and tell me that you came to the gas station and you took her cell phone?
Because she lives with her dad, and basically what he says goes. She told me that she's going to say whatever her dad says to say because he'll kick her out the home. And he has a restraining order against me when we got into a physical fight. Ever since then, she told me also that he said, well, be careful because my dad feels that you got the best of him, so therefore he's doing anything to get you thrown in jail. He called and said I followed him to the airport. He called and said I followed him to work. He said I flattened his tires. He's just been making all these false statements to get me thrown in jail.
Do you have, Mr. Montoya, a bad temper?
No, I do not.
Well, you have to have a bad temper if you ripped her clothes.
I didn't want to put our business out there, but that day, she was basically punching me in my face, scratching me, kicking me.
Why?
And all I did was rip their dress.
Why was she doing that to you?
I think I held myself pretty good.
Why was she doing that to you? Why was she assaulting you?
She was upset between all the things me and her dad had been going through. Because we got into a fight. All this happened before that. And I was in the process of moving. Just my things were there, so I would come back occasionally.
Oh, so you were moving out of the residence?
Yes, I was.
I see. So you were not getting along to begin with. Now, you were not getting along. You're in the process of moving out. But you come home to pick up some of your stuff, and you find that she's going to some modeling class or something. And according to you, you want to go with her. What business was it of yours that she wanted to go someplace that day, that you wanted to be her chaperone?
You're right. That's none of my business. But we're here on a cell phone. We're not here on her dress being ripped.
We hear about what happened that day, sir. And what happened that day and all the surrounding circumstances, because you're not going to say to me, yes, Judge, you're absolutely right. I took the cell phone. You say, I didn't take the cell phone. She says you did take the cell phone. So I have to make a determination, Mr. Montoya, as to whether or not all of the circumstances of that day point to the fact that you did, in fact, take the phone.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You rip her dress, she goes inside, she changes her dress, walks out of the house, leaving you standing there. And what you're telling me is, well, you just said, okay, I guess she wants to go all by herself and she doesn't want to go with me.
And later today,
I had a sick feeling in my gut that he was cheating on me. I suffer from PMS and I maybe overreacted.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Eugene Turner says his daughter's ex-boyfriend, Ron Montoya, stole his cell phone. Ron says Eugene has never liked him.
Now, I have to make a judgment. And my judgment has to be, which of the two of you is telling the most cogent story? Which of the two of you is telling the story that makes the most common sense? And when I said to you, why would she not complain about, or not complain to the police, at least, about you ripping her dress or you coming and making a scene at the gas station. But she does say, I want the cell phone back. I just don't want to have anything to do with them anymore. I just want the cell phone back. As opposed to the story that you're telling me. You said, I want to go with you to the modeling class or to the modeling course or whatever it was, and she says, no, you're not going. You have an argument. You rip her dress. She goes inside. She changes her dress, walks out of the house anyway, leaving you standing there. And what you're telling me is, well, you just said, okay, I guess she wants to go all by herself and she doesn't want to go with me. That's what you want me to believe.
Yes,
well, I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
We have a police report too, Your Honor.
Let me see it.
Does he even have proof that he has a cell phone? Does he have a cell phone bill or anything of that nature?
Yes, I do.
Shh. You don't have to answer him. I'm the one who marshals the evidence.
I still need to go over here?
I would if I were you.
Okay.
So this is the report you made to the police, sir. I want you to listen. Maybe this will jog your memory. How do you pronounce your first name?
Shinique.
Shinique told me that Ron, I assume that's you, followed her to the Arco gas station located in the area of Heacock and Postal. She drove into the gas station, and when she got out to pay for the gas, Ron jumped into her car. He grabbed her father's cell phone. Ron began checking the phone's history to determine what calls she had received. Stop smirking, sir. She told him to get out of the car. Ron maintained possession of the cell phone, got out of the car and ran towards his car, which was parked nearby in the same parking lot. Shanique followed Ron on foot in an attempt to retrieve her father's cell phone. He refused to give her the phone. She went to call on a nearby payphone. As she dialed 911, she told Ron that she was calling the police. He took the phone from her and hung up. She tried dialing again, and again he took the phone from her and hung up. Any of that sound familiar?
None of it rings a bell.
None of it rings a bell. Okay. At that time, Mr. Turney, the police were told that the value of your cell phone was $100.
Yes, but when I went into T-Mobile to get the exact replace value, they gave me a receipt and it was $219.
Let me see. Okay. Mr. Matoya, now I know that you're going to leave here thinking that I've been very unfair to you, that there was no proof, as you say, that you stole the telephone. It's my job to determine who is telling the truth and who is fibbing. And based upon common sense and based upon what I've seen in the police report, I determined that you're the fibber. So you have to pay him $215. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. May step out. I'm back to you, right, please.
Apparently, Mr. Matoya is a compulsive liar.
Everything's untrue, and it's just total lies.
I clapped my daughters through with the bomb.
I got the best of him in the fight, physical fight that he started, so it's all revenge.
I'm just happy with the decision, and she can see that Ron's a liar.
You live and you learn. That's life.
We just stay positive and keep in a positive direction.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Thompson versus Douglas, step forward, please.
22-year-old employment counselor Kara Thompson is suing her former live-in boyfriend, 23-year-old James Douglas, for shooting a hole in her ceiling and for the bail she posted after he beat her up.
All right, Ms. Thompson, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours. You claim he owes you for a whole bunch of stuff. You claim he owes you for rent when he didn't pay rent when he lived with you for a while. Some bail money that you put up for him because he either assaulted you, you had him arrested for domestic violence, and then you had second thoughts, so you bailed him out. So you say he owes you for that. He owes you because he put a hole in your wall or in your ceiling with a gun, a whole bunch of other stuff. So in 3 or 4 minutes or less, would you tell me what your complaints are and why you think he owes you some money?
Okay, in the beginning of June, I agreed to let him move in my house under like roommate circumstances. He agreed to pay $300 a month rent.
How did
and
you know
utilities. I met him in April.
Were you dating him in April?
Shortly thereafter, after I met him, I started dating him in April.
Fine. So in June, you told him he could move in?
Right.
Why did you tell him he could move in June?
The place where he was living, the guy said that he couldn't live there anymore. He wasn't fulfilling his end of the bargain as far as chores go. He wasn't going to have a place to live. So he agreed that he would pay me $300 plus utilities and electricity to move in my home.
So we're talking about 2 months' rent.
Roughly, yeah.
What kind of work was he doing when he moved in June?
He was working at Post Falls Mazda as a car salesman.
Was he working on salary or commission?
He was supposed to be paid a base salary of $6 an hour and then plus commission.
Is that right, sir?
No, ma'am. It was $6 an hour or commission, and I didn't start working at Post Falls Mazda till September the 2nd until September the 19th.
Where were you working in June?
The gentleman I was living with, I was remodeling his home for room, like a free room, free food, and free beer.
Are you sure he was working for a car dealership in June?
Yeah,
and in July?
I would take him to work in the morning.
And in July?
No, he lost his job at Post Falls Mazda.
When did he lose the job?
Shortly after he moved into my home.
So how'd you expect him to pay rent?
Well, I would take him looking for jobs. I went to the job service.
How did you expect him, Miss Thompson, to pay rent?
I thought he was going to get a job.
Well, he didn't.
No.
And you let him stay there anyway?
I felt bad. I didn't want to kick him out if he was looking for a job.
So why do you want to impose that on me?
I want to impose that on him.
No. What you're doing is, if you have a relationship that goes south and the object of your affection has disappointed you, you pick yourself up and dust yourself off and start all over again. All right, let's move on. Red, let's talk about the bail. Bail. What did he do and when?
July 24th. We had a domestic violence against me, and he went to jail.
What did he do?
He beat me up.
He did?
Yeah. The morning of July 24th, he woke up startled and said that he'd wet the bed, and he was very upset about that and embarrassed. So I said, okay, let's change the sheets. It's no big deal. And he went out into the front room, put some towels over it, and I said, we'll go get something to clean it up. He wasn't coming back to the bedroom, so I went out and he was like going to sleep on the floor. I'm like, you need to come clean this up. Or he started yelling at me and calling me names. And then, I'm sorry.
How did he put his hands on you?
Okay. I asked him to leave if he couldn't respect my property by not cleaning up that on my bed. I asked him to leave, and he grabbed my wrists and started throwing me around, and it proceeded from there, which he'd done before every time. I'd asked him to leave my home.
My question, Ms. Thompson, is then why did you bring him back? Why did you bail him out?
Because he asked me to bail him out.
Well, tell me how that came about.
He had a court for a driver's license suspension during the time that he was in jail, and so I went down to the courthouse and he was there.
What does that mean? You mean he was picked up, the police came, they arrested him,
correct,
put him in jail. While they were in jail, a warrant dropped on him for something else?
Correct. Correct.
For what?
There wasn't a warrant. It was just a day that I had to go to court for a driving on suspended ticket. And I wasn't allowed to...
Driving a vehicle with a suspended license.
Yes, ma'am. And I also had a no contact order, so I wasn't allowed to talk to her whatsoever.
So what you're telling me is you never called her and asked her to bail you out?
I wasn't allowed to.
Okay. When did he call you?
He called me once from jail. He bargained with an inmate so that he was able to call me. He called me and expressed remorse, that he was really, really sorry. He'd never done this to anybody before. Could I please bail him out? And we also had two friends that went to see him.
Just a minute. So he asked you to bail him out and you did?
That's correct.
That's
with the agreement to pay me back.
How much did it cost you to bail? Because ultimately you...
$535, and I do have the check here.
Judge?
Yeah.
All calls are documented, so if I'd have called, I would have been breaking my contact order as well.
Just a second. You've broken the law before, sir. In worse ways than making a telephone call.
I've already been picked up for that charge if they'd have had it on document.
Not necessarily. When they said, we have somebody who's bailing you out, did you say, I don't want anybody to bail me out, I want to stay here?
I didn't know I was... no, ma'am.
No, of course not. When you got bailed out, where did you go?
We went to the park, and she told me she'd marry me.
Now, when you say she told you she'd marry you, did that come out, you're just walking along and she said to you, honey, I'll marry you, or did that come as a result of you saying to her, I want to marry you?
I had asked her before I went to jail, and when I got out, she gave me...
Before or after you beat her up?
That case is still pending. I have evidence that proves that I am not at fault for that.
That's a pending case? Then
Yes,
I'm not
ma'am.
going to go into it with you. Go ahead.
Okay, I have the check for the bail that I posted for him, and I also had to pay to get my car title back, so that was another $100.
Just a minute. That's
She
your
revoked
problem.
my bond.
Okay.
That's your problem.
Okay.
All right, you want to go through this other problem that you had? You said he had a gun. There was a gun involved.
A couple days after he got back, there was a peeping Tom going around Post Falls. They showed it on the news, and I heard somebody come up. Something came up the back steps, and I asked him to go investigate, and he grabbed my .22 rifle out of my closet and put the clip in it, and I said, "You are not supposed to have a gun in your hands. You're facing a felony charge." So he turned around and went to put it back in the closet, and it went off. I don't know how it went off, but it did. And it went through my ceiling, and I have pictures of that.
Okay.
And he agreed to repair the ceiling and pay for those costs.
You want him to come back and repair the ceiling?
Well, I have an estimate for that, for the roof repair and the labor involved in that.
I'm looking at you with a look of incredulity, Ms. Thompson, for the following reason. If he beats you up, you don't invite him back to your bedroom. Do you understand?
Yes. It'll never happen
You don't
again.
look like a stupid woman. So here's what I have. I have a woman who brings in a guy to her house because he can't live at his old place because he's a bum. He loses his job.
That's correct.
He beats you up after he's been living in your house for a month. And you do the smart thing. You send him to jail. According to you, it's not the first time he beat you up.
That's correct.
First time he put his hands on you in anger. Would have been the last time. For moi. You gave him another chance. But on the 24th, you finally said, he's going to jail. 4 days later, you bail him out. Comes back to your house.
Well, August 8th, I bailed him out.
I don't care what it is. So it's 6 days later. What are you talking? Are you arguing with me about a couple of days?
No.
I'm trying to tell you that you're not being smart. You're entitled to your bail money back. Fix the ceiling yourself. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $535. That's all.
Now, this is case number 165 on the calendar in the matter of Banks versus Garcia. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Banks, it is your claim that the defendant had you falsely arrested for assault. This was not the first altercation that you've had with him, but you claim that this time you were tried and ultimately found not guilty after a jury trial. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You want him to compensate you in the amount of $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Garcia says that you did, in fact, assault him. He has the injuries to prove it. He is counterclaiming for $5,000 for the assault. So, what created this problem between the two of you? Do you live close by to each other?
5 doors away, ma'am.
And how long have you lived 5 doors away from the defendant?
I've lived in my current residence just under 4 years, ma'am.
What about you, Mr. Garcia? How long have you lived in your current residence?
I've lived there for 9 years.
When did you and Mr. Garcia start to have difficulty, Mr. Banks?
Neva, May, we had...
May of what year, sir?
2002.
So for a long time you lived there peacefully with Mr. Garcia?
Yes, ma'am.
So let's try to find out what the catalyst was in May 2002 that created the problem.
Mr. Garcia drove through the neighborhood, speed limit being 25. He drove approximately 40 miles an hour past my house. Witnesses here were both across the street.
He drove by 40 miles an hour in a car?
motorcycle.
On a motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Garcia, when did you get a motorcycle, sir?
About a month before then.
So before you got the motorcycle, everything was just dandy?
Yes.
So would you say, Mr. Garcia, that the problem was precipitated by your motorcycle?
Yes, Your Honor.
See how much progress we're making? Okay, Mr. Banks, let's have the incident that you are referring to today with regard to the false arrest.
That evening, Mr.
Give
Garcia...
me the date.
July 15th, 2002.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Garcia instigated a fight with individuals at a party.
How did he do that?
He drove very close to an individual who was giving the party.
Where did that individual live?
There would be 3 houses from Mr. Garcia.
And he was on his motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
He had a verbal altercation, at which time there was a shoving match, and he got punched in the head, knocked him out. They tried to retrieve his senses, put him back on his motorcycle, and sent him home. When his senses came back, he got upset, continued the fight. The fight resulted in various bruises and injuries that he's got pictures of.
And you took no part in that?
I watched.
How many people were at the party, Mr. Banks?
Approximately 20.
How many men?
I would say half were men.
So 10 men?
Yes, ma'am.
Of the 10 men, how many participated in the beating of Mr. Garcia?
About 5, ma'am.
And you were present at all times?
Yes, ma'am.
Give me the names of the 5.
I can give you 3, 2 I do not know. Isaac, Daniel, and David.
Did you tell that to the police?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I was accused of being involved in it. It was not my job to do the inquiry.
Well, if somebody said to me, I was accused, I would say, listen, I was there, and I wasn't unhappy that this guy was getting beat up because, you know, he was a jerk before, and I did nothing to help him. But it wasn't me who beat him up. I can give you the names of the people who beat him up. Don't take me to jail. I didn't do it. Wouldn't that sound like what a normal person would do?
I did not physically have the altercation with him, and he deserved what he asked for. No, I was not giving him the names.
Now, you were arrested, Mr. Banks. Did you retain a lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
I assume that your lawyer made a motion to dismiss the case?
Several times.
And that motion to dismiss was denied?
Yes, ma'am.
What criminal act were you tried on? Assault in what degree?
Assault, bodily injury.
So it was a felony?
No, misdemeanor, Class A, ma'am.
Did Mr. Garcia testify?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he have witnesses who testified also?
No, ma'am.
Did you testify?
No, I did not testify, ma'am.
Did you have witnesses who testified on your behalf? Are any of those witnesses here today?
Yes, ma'am.
Which witnesses?
Both, ma'am.
Both were there that evening?
Alan and Anita, yes, ma'am.
Okay, step up, sir. Tell me your last name.
Goodner.
You were there on the evening of the 15th of July?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what you saw.
Ches drove by on his motorcycle. I think there was a beer can thrown or something like that.
At him?
At him.
Okay,
Someone
so he didn't just go by.
No, he did. He tried to run over. I mean, people were in the street, and he did speed by. He turned back around, and he started having words with everybody.
After somebody threw a beer can at him?
No. Well, yes, he did turn around after the beer can, but I'm sure he would turn around anyway.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't anticipate what I'm going to say, Mr. Goodner.
Yes, ma'am.
Just listen very carefully. Put all your thinking caps on.
Yes, ma'am.
And think very carefully about what I'm saying so that you can give me a truthful answer, because if you don't give me the truthful answer, I will make you look very foolish, and you don't want that in front of 10 million people.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So he turned around because somebody threw a beer can at him.
Yes, that's correct.
And then what happened?
He got off the motorcycle and approached Isaac and pushed him. Pushed him several times, and Isaac finally had enough of it, and then that's when he hit him. He got knocked out for a few seconds and got back up and proceeded to fight him. And that's when everybody jumped in to get him off of Isaac.
Who's everybody?
Several people.
Name them.
David, Isaac, and Daniel.
What about you?
No, ma'am, I did not. I didn't want to take part in any part of this, because
Well, give me the names of the other people who were there.
I really don't. I know Matt was there. That's about it. Only half of them were my friend.
And what about Mr. Banks? Where was he?
In the driveway, talking to Tanya, a girl
Who's
there.
Tanya?
A girl that lived at the house.
Okay. Just step up. Sure. Your name?
Anita Dore.
Are you a neighbor?
Yes, I am.
How long have you lived in the neighborhood?
I have been in the house 3.5 years.
Mr. Garcia's motorcycle, has it presented a problem in the neighborhood?
Oh, yes, it has.
Well, tell me about it.
Well, we have a long stretch in front of our street from stop sign to stop sign, and he zooms by, doesn't stop at the stop sign, and it's always real fast. And I had asked him, to slow down, because my children could be in the yard or, playing or in the street, and accidents happen. And
what did he say?
He informed me that if they were in the effing street, then he would effing run over them.
What's wrong with you, Mr. Garcia?
Ma'am, I've never said that. I've never talked to this woman before.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Said, okay, well, how do you know I was speeding? It's a motorcycle, it's loud. I stopped at the stop sign.
You shouldn't be riding a loud motorcycle at 12:30 in the morning, Garcia. You understand?
Ma'am, it's really not that loud, but...
It's that loud!
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kenneth Banks says neighbor Ches Garcia had him falsely arrested for assault. Ches says Kenneth beat him up.
Mr. Garcia, you seem to have a problem with your motorcycle. You lived peacefully in a neighborhood for 9 years, no problem with you. Then you bought a motorcycle and all this trouble started, sir.
I haven't ridden a motorcycle since.
Since you got beaten up?
Right.
Well, that's a good idea, Mr. Garcia, and I assume you haven't had problems since. Mr. Banks, let me explain to you, sir, why you have no case. You went to trial in a criminal case. At the end of the case, after Mr. Garcia testified, your lawyer made a motion to dismiss that case, as every good lawyer does. The judge who heard that case said, no, no, no. This case has to proceed to the end because there is sufficient evidence to establish that you were involved in that beating. If your case had been dismissed and the judge said there is no evidence whatsoever linking Mr. Banks to this assault, then you might have been able to proceed civilly against Mr. Garcia. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm not so sure, Mr. Banks, that you weren't involved. You may not have started it. You were certainly happy that it was happening, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Should never be happy when somebody is getting pulverized, sir. The fact that he may have been endangering some people in the neighborhood by reckless driving of this motorcycle does not mean that he deserves to lose his life. Now you may be seated for a moment. Now I'm going to get to your counterclaim, Mr. Garcia. I assume you have some terrible pictures for me to see.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Mr. Banks, so that you'll understand this, he is allowed to proceed against you civilly, even if you were found not guilty by a jury, because the quantum of proof in a criminal case at the end of the whole case is by beyond a reasonable doubt. And the jury found that you were not guilty by beyond a reasonable doubt. They did not find that you were innocent. Quantum of proof here in this case is proof by a preponderance of the evidence, just a little bit of evidence, more so than not. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, please hand Officer Byrd the photographs, and you tell me, sir, your version of what happened, Mr. Garcia, on the 15th of July.
It was around 1 o'clock in the morning. I was coming home from work on my motorcycle. I was slowing down to stop at the stop sign that's in front of the house where the party was going on, and somebody threw a beer can at me. So I turned around and I said, what's the problem? And they started telling me I better get out of there and this and that. And when I looked up, I see Mr. Banks coming from in between two cars in the driveway, and I tell him, don't touch me, don't talk to me. I've got a lawsuit against you right now. And they said, if you talk to me, you'll be arrested. Well, when I said that, he turned his head and he bit me in the nose. At that point, I freaked out and I took off and I turned around, and then I hear somebody yelling, you tried to hit me. I got pushed off of my motorcycle, and me and Isaac started fighting, and the next thing I know, I have 4 people on top of me kicking me in the face. They broke my eye socket. I've got 2 titanium plates in there forever. I can't wear contacts anymore. They broke my nose.
Did you sue the other people?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I haven't had a chance yet.
What do you mean you haven't had a chance yet?
This has been going on for a year. Really, I'm at the point where I just want to be left alone.
Just a second. Mr. Garcia, do you have the police report that you filed?
I didn't actually file it. The police officer wrote it when I was in the hospital. And
How many people were tried for the assault?
Just 1.
Why is that?
I didn't know any other names.
Well, what kind of an investigation was done by the police, sir?
They didn't do anything. They really didn't.
Well, Mr. Garcia, that's outrageous, sir. I mean, here we have Isaac, David, and Daniel. Very easy to figure out. They all have last names. What's Isaac's last name?
That we don't know.
If we knew.
David.
No clue.
Daniel.
I have no clue.
Don't believe any of you. Who are you?
Chez's mother.
Were you there that evening, the 15th of July?
I was at home. I didn't witness any of the attack. But the police officer, when we were in the hospital, he said we had to get the names.
Listen to me. That's not your job. The police department is supposed to do the investigation.
Right.
I'm outraged. What country do you live in?
We live in Texas, and this whole thing has just been preposterous.
How old is your son?
My son is 21.
Okay. Who bought him the motorcycle when he was 19?
He bought it himself.
I was actually 20 when I bought it.
Where is it now?
It's sitting in the backyard.
Sell it.
I'm going to. I'm trying.
That's a very good idea.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I opened the door and I grabbed the knife out of the kitchen and I told him to get out of my yard. Well, he runs off down the street and he gets a pistol out of his truck and he comes into my front yard, sticks the gun to my head, walks me all the way into my house.
Real cases, real people, Judge Judy. Kenneth Banks says neighbor Ches Garcia had him falsely arrested for assault. Ches says Kenneth beat him up.
You still live close to each other?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can I say something, ma'am?
Sure.
Mr. Garcia says I bit him. If you would look at the photos, you'll see no bite marks on it.
There is no indication in any of the photographs that he was bitten in the nose.
Ma'am, actually, there is a picture of my nose, and I have 2 marks on each side of the nose.
Sir, these 2 marks on this side of your nose could not have been made by a human being.
Well, I mean, he did. He bit me in the nose, and then Alan told me that I was lucky I wasn't killed because he's an ex-Marine.
Oh, I believe that the whole mob scene could have killed you. I'm just absolutely amazed that you didn't pursue these other people.
I tried to my fullest, and the officer wouldn't return our calls. We got a hold of the DA to try to get her to get a hold of him, and it just didn't go through.
I don't know why it didn't go through. But I'm going to tell you something, Mr. Banks. How old are you, sir?
38, ma'am.
Whether or not you participated in this assault, I am appalled that you sat back and watched. I mean, he's 20 years old. 20 years old is a moron. You're double his age. You can have a child his age. You permitted him to be assaulted badly, where they really could have killed him, because you think he deserved it because he was driving his motorcycle too fast.
Ma'am, that was not why I let it go on.
Well, then you tell me, Mr. Banks, why you let it go on.
Prior incident when he lied to the police, I spent a night in jail. At that point, no, I was not going to get involved in.
Another incident that involved an alleged assault?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
June 6, 2002.
And you were arrested?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened to that case?
That was no bill by the grand jury, ma'am.
Were you assaulted on June 6th?
It was actually May 11th. What had happened is I was driving home from down the street. It was about 12:30.
On your motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
12:30 in the morning or at night?
12:30 in the morning. And I hear beating on my door about 10 minutes after I get home. I open the door and I see Mr. Banks and Alan at my front door. I had never met them before. I walked outside and I said yes, and he said, "You're speeding, and I don't appreciate this and that." And I said, "Who are you?" And he says, "Well, I live over there." And I said, "Okay, well, how do you know I was speeding? It's a motorcycle. It's loud." I stopped at the stop sign.
You shouldn't be riding a loud motorcycle at 12:30 in the morning, Garcia. You understand?
Ma'am, it's really not that loud. But
it's that loud.
Anyway, he proceeded to push me up against the brick wall, and I smelled the alcohol in his breath. And I said, "Look, you need to leave or I'm going to call the cops." And he told me if that's what I better do if I know what's right for me. And he kept pushing me against the wall. And at that point, I opened the door and I grabbed the knife out of the kitchen and I told him to get out of my yard. Well, he runs off down the street and he gets a pistol out of his truck and he comes into my front yard and sticks the gun to my head at the driveway and walks me all the way into my house.
So what happened with that case?
They never contacted me. All I heard was it was no bill and they couldn't tell me anything.
The only thing that I have to decide today is whether or not he's responsible for your beating.
Right.
You want to say something else?
Yes, ma'am. On behalf of Ken, do I approach her?
Sure.
Well, that night, whenever the knife got pulled, he pulled it on. He ran after Ken. I stood in front of the knife for Ken. Ken came back, felt I was in danger while his dogs were running after Ken. Ken came back with the gun on behalf of my life.
What did you go over to his house for?
Because it's better than calling the cops. And do a neighborly thing, go over and just talk to him. You know, I'd be mad if someone called the cops on me. Go over and talk to him. It wasn't as violent as it thinks. He flipped out. He came outside running. You could hear him scraggling
What
in the
were
kitchen.
you doing with Mr. Banks at 12:30 in the morning?
Hanging out.
Hanging out and drinking?
Yes, ma'am, I was drinking.
Yes. Sit down.
Yes, ma'am.
You have something to contribute to this?
Yes, ma'am. About 3 days ago, I was at my other next-door neighbor's house.
You're his brother?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
And he comes up and tries to talk to me, and I don't really want to have anything to do with him.
Who's he?
Alan. And it boils down to where he was saying that it's real manly for Mr. Banks to pull a gun on my brother, saying that he's lucky, my brother is lucky that he didn't get shot that night.
You think that everybody got a little hot?
Yeah.
I think so, too. I'm absolutely amazed that the district attorney in Texas did not pursue the case against these other people. I'm unimpressed by the fact that an ex-Marine would allow a mob, if I were to believe him, to assault a youngster in his presence. You are under no obligation to stop that mob. But I think to say I'm an ex-Marine is sort of besmirching in my judgment, that branch of the military, because I think that your behavior that day, even if you did not participate in this assault, was abominable, Mr. Banks. Understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You don't have a case against Mr. Banks, Mr. Garcia, because I am not satisfied that aside from looking and gloating over the fact that you were getting the crap kicked out of you, that he actually participated in this assault, and Mr. Banks, you have no case against Mr. Garcia, because, as I said, the district attorney and the judge presiding over the trial, your trial, for assault, felt that there was sufficient evidence to proceed and give it to a jury. And our justice system does not give you 2 bites of the apple. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. Next step. This is case number 246 on the calendar in the matter of Brown versus Wilson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Brown, Miss Wilson is your former girlfriend. And you claim she got really angry at you one night because she thought you were with another woman, an ex-girlfriend of yours. She came over to your house. You didn't answer the door. You looked out the window. You saw her leave, and she keyed your car. Right?
No.
What'd you do?
She did keep my car, but I wasn't home. I was at my neighbor's house. My cousin was the one who answered the door. When she came to the door, he said, "Did you see your girl? Your girl just left."
Listen to me. I didn't ask for a whole story from you yet.
All right, I was just
Who saw her key your car?
I saw her key my car.
All right.
I went out my back door when my cousin told me that, he said, "Did you see your girl? She just left."
Shh. Don't tell me what anybody said to you. That's hearsay. You saw her key your car.
Correct. I went out my back door. I was trying to tell you where I saw her at.
Miss Wilson says she was really mad, but she didn't do it.
Correct. But he wanted home.
Miss Wilson.
Yes.
How long was he your boyfriend?
I met Curtis in April, and we broke up in like July or whatever. So it wasn't a long engagement.
Okay. Now, there came a time when you went over to his house?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
Whatever the day in question was.
What's the date?
The date was July 15th, if I'm mistaken.
Okay. So you went over to his house for what purpose?
Okay. I called him on his cell phone. Nobody answered. Judge, I bought this cell phone for him. So the least he could do is answer the phone, you know what I'm saying? So I called it like 50 times. Nobody answers. So I live in Norfolk, he lives in Newport News. So I drive through the tunnel all the way to his house. So his car is parked not in front of his house, but on the side by the garbage can. So I'm like, okay, here he go with something that's not quite right. So I knock on the door. I see a woman look out the window. Now keep in mind, Curtis is still married to his wife. So I see a girl look out the window. I'm like, okay. So I'm knocking on the door, knocking on the door, knocking on the door. Finally, music pumping in the bedroom, sounds coming out the bedroom. I'm not stupid, Your Honor. So finally, he sent his cousin to the door. Kurt not here. I'm like, I just seen a girl in the bedroom. Oh, that was me. Okay, so now you got long hair and all this stuff? Oh, well, that was me. Kurt's not here. So by this time, I had went to the window before I even knocked on the door. I put my ear up to the window, trying to hear everything. I heard the music, I heard her, and I heard him. So I was filming, yeah, I was mad, but I left. I was really, really angry. I got in my car, and I left, and that was the end of it.
Good. Miss Wilson, you said Curtis is married.
Yes.
Is he living with his wife?
No.
Are they separated?
No.
Yes.
So shh,
yeah, right.
Quiet. So, Miss Wilson, what are you doing fooling around with a married man who's not separated from his wife?
Well, he didn't tell me in the beginning, I swear. He did not tell me in the beginning. You asked Curtis.
But then he told you.
But then he told me he told me they were separated. But then I talked to her herself. She said they wasn't.
Now tell me, Mr. Brown, tell me what you saw Miss Wilson do to your car.
Okay. I came out my back door. I use my back door. I don't use the front door. I used my back door to go in my house.
Just tell me what you saw.
I went out my back door. I was coming off the side of my building to the parking lot. I saw her exiting the hood of my car, going towards her car. She was walking like, say this is my car. She was walking away. So I seen her scratching the hood of my car.
No, let me see pictures of the car.
So she had to scratch. My car won't like that before.
Well, Mr. Brown,
and she called me as soon as she left. She called me on my cell phone as soon as she left.
And what'd she say when she called you?
She said, "You gonna be real mad at me in a minute." I'm like, "Why?" She said, "You ain't gonna want to talk to me no more."
No, that is not
why?
how it happened.
She was like, "After you see what I done, you ain't gonna want to talk to me no more."
Did I ever say I keyed your car?
Yep.
You key, Bishop, Miss Wilson. Listen to me. I want you to be very, very quiet when I say this to you, Miss Wilson.
Okay.
You keyed his car.
No, I didn't.
Can I
it was
say one
his
more
baby
thing?
mama that keyed his car, probably, or all them other girls that was on. He just mad because he can't figure out which one it is because he's sleeping with so many women, so he want to pin it on me.
Can I say one thing, Your Honor?
Just a minute. Put your hands down. You keyed his car.
I didn't key his car, Judge Judy.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you did. If I had called him 50 times and he didn't answer the phone and I went over there and I was still his girlfriend and I went into his house and saw him fooling around with somebody else, you're lucky she didn't blow up your car.
Exactly.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was shooting her.
Yeah, whatever.
I was at my neighbor's house.
But you just lying all over the court.
And later today,
Listen to me.
He told me to
And the
leave and I
police-
left, and then she was supposed to come back.
Whose mouth is moving?
Both years.
And if both of that mouths are moving, who wins?
Judge Judy wins.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Curtis Brown says ex-lover Tabitha Wilson keyed his car. Tabitha says the culprit was probably another one of Curtis's girlfriends.
Can I see the bill? I believe you when you say you saw her over at your car.
How can you believe that? He
believe it.
Come out the house.
I believe it.
I came out the back door.
I believe it.
Oh my God.
What year car is this?
It's a 94 Ford Taurus.
You remember they used to have a company called Earl Shy painting your car or something like that? You know, they painted it for $2.99 or something like that.
$2.99, $9.99.
What's this $2,232?
He just
I went to Mako.
What?
I went to Mako. That's the estimate they gave me.
Go cheaper.
Because they said the scratches that's deep is so deep into the paint, it's almost in the metal.
Oh, well, then every time you look at it, when you get a cheaper paint job, you're going to think about being true. When you think of being true to one lady.
Yeah.
Or maybe two ladies.
I was true to her.
Yeah, whatever.
I was at my neighbor's house.
But you just lying all over the court.
My cousin answered the door. My cousin is light skinned.
Mr. Brown.
My baby mama is light skinned.
Mr. Brown, get your car fixed. Get your car painted for $250 because I'm going to tell you something. That's all you're going to get from this court. Listen to me. $2,000, but you got it out of your system. You got it out of your system for $250. Do you feel better? Do you feel better?
Yes.
Good. That's all.
All right, is our excuse. You may step out.
I went over to the boy house and then the lady gonna look out the window. Duh, play. That's you. Duh.
I want no player. I won't dare. I was out with my neighbor.
It really doesn't matter to me. All he got was $250.
I just know not to mess with crazy girls, and she crazy, man.
I'm mad because you was there with your baby mama and you ain't had to come out here and just tell me to go home.
She could have done something else besides scratch my car. So that was kind of, that tell you, only a crazy person do something like that, man.
Now, this is case number 331 on the calendar in the matter of Richardson versus McManus. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
All right, we're going to cut to the chase here and in a very brief period of time lay out this story, this sad tale as I understand it. Miss Richardson, this used to be your boyfriend. You had an intimate relationship with him for a while. That relationship, according to both of you, terminated. You were involved with somebody else. You became pregnant and had a baby. Sometime after the child was born, Mr. McManus saw you, met you, whatever, and he looked at the baby, and the baby looked like he used to look when he was a baby. I don't know. And he got it in his head that he might be the father of this child. So far, is that pretty much right?
Correct, Your Honor.
Good. So he would come over and visit and want to bring presents for the baby and want to be involved with the baby. And in your mind, you knew that he was not the father. But he harassed you, according to you, and harassed you, and he said, I want you to take a blood test, I want to be sure. And according to you, he said, I'll pay for the test. So you took a paternity test, and you want him to pay for that test. That's what this is about. Mr. McManus says, you didn't take any test with me, and I never saw the results of a test that you did take. So I am assuming, Ms. Richardson, that the blood test that you took was with the person who was the father of the child, correct? Not with Mr. McManus, because the only thing that test with Mr. McManus would have established could have been that he was excluded as a person who could be the father of this child.
Right.
Mr. McManus.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you promise to pay for a blood test that Miss Richardson would take, a paternity test, that she would take, not with you, but with some other man?
No, Your Honor.
Did you promise to pay for a blood test if she took it with you?
Yes, that is correct.
That's right. That's what I thought. So why, Miss Richardson, did you take a paternity test with somebody other than Mr. McManus?
I was trying to keep Travis McManus's name away from my child's name because I knew that he couldn't be, clinically it was impossible for him to be the father.
My question is,
oh, I'm sorry,
if
tell me again.
You're not paying attention,
Okay.
either that or you're not hearing
This
me.
is too much. I went through too much with this guy. Go ahead. Why did I take a test? He harassed me for months. I didn't want his name on it when I could have the father, my family, all keep it together, and not have someone who...
Are you on any prescription medication? Pay attention to my question.
Okay, ma'am.
He wanted to take a blood test with him.
Yes.
To determine whether he was the father of this child. And he said, if you take a paternity test, I'll pay for it. If I'm not the father, I'll still pay for it. If I'm the father, I want to know. I'm the father.
He didn't say it like that. He didn't differentiate at all. At all. He came into my home.
You mean you think that he was promising to pay you for a blood test that you took with another man?
No, he just said that he wanted to make an appointment and get it done. He said he didn't care how it was done or who did it, actually. And that's when I said, okay, well, I'll go and get his dad. I'll look hard for his dad. Plus, he'd already come into my house. And what he said in front of my child isn't something the father, even a potential father, would say in front of a baby. So I wanted him nowhere near us.
Get me, just a sec. Would you get me the results of the paternity test? I'm sure she has them somewhere in that.
I was scared to
ream of
death, and so
paperwork.
was his dad, because he'd already been accosted by Travis McManus, like before the baby even.
How many children do you have, Miss Richardson?
I have a little boy.
This isn't the way test results come back to you when you take a DNA test.
Well, here's the rest of it.
Give me the whole thing.
Well, I mean, that's what I got. That was an email. That's all I got. And this I just...
All right.
Shh.
Listen to me very carefully, Miss Richardson.
Okay. I'm just...
This is not going to tell Mr. McManus anything. This does not name the child. This does not name the father. It does not say who came to the report. It says nothing. Is there currently an order of filiation legally declaring somebody to be the father of this child in any court?
No.
Okay. There probably should be. Do you live with the father of this child?
No, I do not.
Does the father of this child pay child support?
No, he cannot.
Why not?
I can't tell you why.
Listen to me. Mr. McManus.
But I do know Mr. McManus. That was one of his
McManus,
things.
I want you to listen to me very carefully, sir. I don't know whether you're the father of this child or not. I have no idea. I'm not going to get much from this side of the bench that I can
oh my gosh.
make heads or tails of. There is probably, based upon this genetic testing, and I don't know what child was taken or what father was taken, I have no idea. But in all probability, if they did go for a blood test, if the blood test was taken and she paid for the blood test or this man paid for the blood test, this is an accurate report which indicates that there's a 99.99 probability that the two people who took this test are genetically related. Do you understand?
Thank
that
God.
would of necessity exclude you
Great.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What he caused to the baby was just, it was wrong.
The baby will get over the trauma of him being told that he's the baby's
That's what his mom
father.
said. She'd get over it that her kids are fine, but her kids aren't fine.
And later today,
When you got bailed out, where did you go?
We went to the park, and she told me she'd marry me.
Before or after you beat her up?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ryan Richardson says ex-boyfriend Travis McManus owes for the cost of a paternity test.
Now, if, however, you are not satisfied with this test result, what you have to do is you have to go to the family court in the jurisdiction where you live, file a petition asking to legally be declared the father of this child.
Okay.
They will issue a summons. They will call her into court.
All right.
They will direct the taking of a blood test. You will have to pay for that blood test. If there is any question in your mind, I can't tell you what this says, because quite frankly, I don't know.
All right.
Your Honor,
Doesn't
he's
list
had
any
plenty
people.
of time to do that. He just keeps threatening me with court, but he could do it.
Good, Mr. McManus, that is what you have to do. You can't threaten her. You can't go over there. I don't want you to go over there. I don't want you to try to see her. I don't want you to try to see the child. I don't want you to send her any presents. I don't want you to send her any money. Who is this person?
This is my mother.
Good. Your mother looks like a reasonable person. What you have to do is you have to take him by the hand. How old is he?
He's 27.
You take your 27-year-old baby by the hand, take him to a local family court, let him fill out a petition to be declared the father of this child.
Oh
They will order the blood test. If he comes back not the father, he knows for sure that he is excluded as one of those people who could possibly be the father. Would that make you happy?
Yes, if I'm
Then-
excluded. Yes.
Then that's what you have to do.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Don't go near her other than that. What?
So it's just about the paternity test, not the harassment? What he caused to the baby was just, it was wrong. It's wrong to come in and say, I'm your father, and confuse a baby like that. The baby lunged off the bed at him when he was coming at me. I mean,
The baby will get over the trauma of him being told that he's
that's
the
what his
baby's
mom
father.
said. She'd get over it that her kids are fine, but her kids aren't fine, obviously.
Goodbye. Now you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Goodbye and good luck, everybody.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
For years, he has come in and out of my life, come to my parents' house when I'm not there, just different things. And like my dad says, he's just trying to get back in.
I think it's the other way around, to tell you the truth. I want absolutely nothing to do with this woman.
He seemed really civil after the baby was born. He'd come over to visit a few times, and I even asked his mom to sell my dad's house. And then he just freaked out.
When I first saw the kid, my gut feeling was, yeah, he was my son. So that's why I wanted a DNA test, and I haven't seen one yet.
Everybody knows my son. Everybody knows that he's the happiest baby in the world, and that he couldn't possibly be this maniac's child.
Hopefully I'm not the father.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jones versus Luis Castillo. Step forward, please.
Douglas Jones is suing his cousin, bus driver Dwight Lewis, and girlfriend Mary Ellen Castillo for damages to his home as the result of a fight. Douglas says Mary Ellen and his girlfriend went toe-to-toe.
Mr. Jones, Mr. Lewis is your cousin, according to your complaint, and this lady with him is his girlfriend.
That's correct.
At some time, for reasons that I'm sure you will explain to me, you allowed Mr. Lewis, his girlfriend, and her 3 children to move into your home, a home that you shared with your girlfriend.
That's correct.
And any other children?
Yes, 2 boys.
Whose children are those?
Ours.
The 2 women, for some reason, did not get along.
Right.
And there was an altercation that became physical. And it is your claim that this altercation that became physical resulted in Miss Castillo taking a plate and throwing it against your sliding glass doors, causing the door to break. You want her to pay $600 for the glass door.
Which the glass door that's been chipped, the kitchen window, she broke also.
Miss Castillo says you're lucky she's not suing you and your girlfriend because she was injured during that altercation. An altercation that was started by your girlfriend.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She starts going, oink, oink, you a pig, oink, oink. And she spit in my face and ran.
So what did you do?
I snatched her up when she was running. And after we were on the...
Lewis and his girlfriend Mary Ellen Castillo owe for damage to his house. Douglas says the damage occurred during a fight between Mary Ellen and his girlfriend, Laminda.
Were you present during the altercation?
I know, I was in a room next to the kitchen.
Step up here. What's your name?
Laminda.
Laminda, you have a last name?
Malik.
When did they move in with you?
They moved in June of '04, and the fight took place at August.
It was right after your back
30th.
surgery.
Right.
August of 31st of '04.
Correct.
What started the fight?
We were in the kitchen, and the night before we had been fighting the whole night. My dad was just going to California, so he had stopped by, and she was still calling me names the next morning. It was over a washer and just things that she was like nitpicking on, if I did the dishes or, putting dishes to each side of the sink. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was little kid fighting, but she was still doing it the next day. When my dad came over, she stood over in the carport, and she starts like folding her arms and just staring at me, and I'm trying not to look over at her, and she starts going oink oink, oink oink, you a pig, oink oink.
That's the day before.
Yeah, later on we were cooking, and she spit in my face and ran. And at the time she couldn't really talk because she had sores in her mouth. And so I don't know, to me that was assault. That was assault to me. That was it. I had it, and I couldn't take it no more. And
so what did you do?
I snatched her up when she was running.
What does that mean, you snatched her up?
By her hair.
So you grabbed her by the hair?
Yeah.
And what did you do?
And I threw her on the ground, and we were fighting. Then her husband jumped in and went to go pull me off.
And that's when I heard the commotion.
That's when he heard the commotion.
And I just had a back operation a couple of days before that.
I'm sorry about that. You feeling better?
A little bit.
Good. Can we get back to the story, please? All right. So now he comes in to try to pull you off. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. And when he started to pull me off, I felt like I was being, like it was both of them. She was still getting her, kicking me and stuff, and I had been threatened by her the whole time.
Well, he's trying to pull you off, so evidently you're on top.
No, pull us apart, actually, because at the time we were both still wrestling on the ground, and I had been told many times, no, don't mess with Mary Ellen, that she was going to whip my...
Okay.
Sorry.
Where are all the children when this is going on?
They were scattered all over the house. Some were playing out in the yard, and some were in the living room.
The children didn't come in to hear what all the commotion was?
Yeah, a couple of them came to the kitchen door after the fight had broken up. See, they've been nitpicking at each other for a while, especially Mary Ellen, because it seemed like she wanted to be the alpha female, and you don't do that when you're invited to somebody's house. I asked my cousin and them to come up here because Mary Ellen had got kicked out of his daughter's house in Georgia, where they moved into another house, and they said they had black mold and the mold was killing them. So I said, well, come on up and, stay with me. You got 3 kids, so get them in school up here and come up here. I didn't expect her to come over and take over.
I wouldn't try to take over from her.
Evidently she tried.
I want to know how the window got broken.
After the fight went on, I think Mary Ellen was very upset about getting beat because she was promoted. Come on. My cousin was promoting her as, this really good fighter. She beat up 2 cops in California and all this kind of stuff. And she was upset getting beat, so she took it out on my house.
Did you see her throw the plate?
No, I heard the plate. I saw her hitting the door with the plate, though, because once I heard the kitchen window break, I was on the phone with my brother, Wolf Fat Jones, and I came in. She was at the sliding glass door, banging it, but she had broke a plate on the sliding glass door already.
Why were you hitting the sliding glass door with the plate?
It wasn't broken at all.
Why were you hitting it with the plate?
She attacked me when there was blood all over the floor, and she gave me a scar right here, and I have 4 stitches. I have 2 cuts, 4 stitches.
Sounds like you got the better of the bargain.
And my window still isn't fixed. I have plastic on it. In Seattle it rains a lot, and it ran up a lot of bills because I'm raising my 2 boys. I'm out on L&I right now, so I don't have a lot of money to fix the window. Labor in the industry. I got hurt at work. I work in a prison, so I couldn't get it fixed. They said that they were going to fix it.
When did they say they were going to fix it?
The next day afterwards, he said, well, let's go to Lowe's and find another window. And I said,
Did
no.
you say that, Mr. Lewis?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So why didn't you fix it?
He didn't want a Lowe's window. He wanted it professionally done, which would have cost a lot, and we didn't have the money at the time.
The reason why I didn't want him to fix my window, Your Honor, he was trying to, he changed my toilet seat with a crowbar.
Let me see the estimate on the window. As long as Mr. Lewis agreed to fix it, then he's got to fix it.
Well, Your Honor, he tried to fix my toilet bowl and cracked it. I don't want him to...
No, he's not coming back to fix it now.
Yeah, no, I don't want him to fix it anyway.
Okay.
He doesn't know what he's doing.
Do you have a picture of the patio door?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
I took it with a camera phone, so you can still see it good, though.
Quite frankly, what distresses me more than anything else is that you have 5 children there who are witnessing these
That's
2
what I'm
women
saying.
in a mud fight
the
on the
window.
kitchen floor. And according to your cousin, at least, you seem to think that it's wonderful that she's a good fighter.
He always did. He always did.
You've heard the fictionalized account. What I will tell you what truly happened.
Go ahead, I'm willing to listen.
When we left Georgia, we left Marietta because the house we were in had too much mold in it.
Tell me about your daughter.
Mary Ellen and the children wanted to go to Washington, to Uncle Dougie's house. So we went up there. He had told us, he had assured us beforehand that Laminda was not living there. He had kicked her out a year before because they weren't getting along.
Where were the children? His children living?
His children were there.
But not their mother?
No. He had hired a nanny for a while.
Is that right so far, sir?
That's correct.
Okay.
He had hired a nanny. She came over and beat up the nanny one day. That's why she had a warrant. That's why after she assaulted Mary Ellen, she had to split. That's why once we broke them apart in the kitchen during the fight, he was trying to get her out of the place before the police arrived.
Mr. Lewis, when you arrived there, was she there?
No, she was not. She has her own place in
When
Bremerton.
did she come back?
When he needed to have his back operation. His oldest son has diabetes. He did not trust either of us to give him his medication. We've never done it.
But she had.
So she had. They had been together since the kids were small until he got rid of her. Well, when she came back in, she was back in her house. She was pushing her around. She even tried to push me around, telling me to get out of my cousin's room.
Which was my room at the time?
No, you slept in the extra bedroom. He would let you come in there once in a while.
Okay.
For whatever.
Becoming clear to me, why did you eject her from the house?
She's been gone for at least a year and a half, maybe 2 years. Well, she liked going out a lot, you know. And
she liked to party.
Exactly, yeah.
And that wasn't good for your children?
No.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
There's a reason why you tell the mother of your children she can't live in your house anymore.
Right.
I mean, I don't have to go into all the details.
We actually parted our own ways.
There's a reason you tell the mother of your children that she can't live in your house anymore and she's leaving without her children.
I didn't leave without my children,
Right?
Your Honor.
Right.
I didn't leave without my children. I had my children with me when I left them. I stayed in the shelter with my kids, Your Honor, so...
Somehow the children got back with their father.
Yeah, they did, because I was a housewife with nothing to stand on when I left him.
You have to pay for the window and the door. If you're still together, she looks confused. You understand that. You understand that you have to pay for the window and the door.
Yes, Your
You
Honor.
said you were going to pay for it. If she wants to sue her for her medical bills, she certainly is entitled to do that. At some other date, if you had filed a counterclaim with regard to her medical bills or injuries, I would have at least entertained that today, but you had no counterclaim. You have to pay for the window and the door. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 451 on the calendar in the matter of Shields versus Germany. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Shields, you and the defendant were boyfriend and girlfriend, and you lived together for how long?
We never actually lived together. We were just boyfriend and girlfriend.
Did you live together?
When we dated, we stayed together. As far as I was concerned, we was
together or staying together.
According to your complaint, last summer you were living together.
We didn't actually live together. He has his own residence and I have my residence, but we were a couple.
Well, it's interesting. You said that he came home last summer, I think sometime in July. He came home in the morning because he had been out all night and you refused to let him in the house.
Okay.
Is that what you told me? Let me see.
I can explain.
You know, I'm getting older. Maybe I misread what you said. You said on July 1st, 2004, Byron, that would be you.
Yes, ma'am.
Came home after being out all night. He didn't have the key to get into the house and started banging in the door. I refused to allow him back into the home since he refused to stop continually disrespecting our relationship. Well, that sounds to me like he was coming home.
Actually, he had already been told not to come back around. We had already had a falling out and breaking up. I asked him not to return anymore. I told him that, I didn't want to be bothered because of the things he had been doing in the relationship as far as, staying out, other women, different things of that nature. And so I had already called it quits.
So that's in July. And you say that when he came home in July, he assaulted you. So tell me what happened.
He arrived at the house. It was early morning. Him and his friend had pulled up from somewhere. And he was knocking on the door, saying through the door, open the door, that he wanted to talk. And I explained to him that there was no need for him to be there because I wasn't going to open the door and I wasn't going to talk to him. So he needed to leave. He got irate and started, pushing on the screen door, yanking at things, just out of control. And so, I continued to let him know that the door wasn't coming open. He needed to leave or I was going to call the police. So he ran around to the side of the house and he got the garage door open. He kicked it in. He came into the garage. It's another door that allows you to come into the house. He must have got a hold of something in the garage. And pride.
Whatever, he got into the house.
No, he didn't get into the house that way.
Did he get into the house some way? I want him in the house already.
Yes, ma'am, he came.
I have other things to do today.
Okay, I'm sorry. He came around the front and he yanked the screen door up. He kicked the front door and he came in and he assaulted me.
Well, tell me what happened when he kicked the door in.
When he kicked the door in, he started grabbing at me and started fighting me and he punched me in my mouth.
He hit you in the face?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
And then what happened?
I had already called the police, was bleeding. Police got there. He told the story that I hit him with a glass. So therefore they said that, if it's a dispute between both of you guys are saying that you each assaulted each other so you both could go to jail. I wasn't really prepared to go to jail. I wanted him to leave. And at that time I just asked them to make him leave. And they did. My mother was going to escort me to the hospital up the street, and they made sure that the situation was calm down.
So you went to the hospital. What happened at the hospital?
Went to the hospital, was there for a little bit. They got me back and started to, stitch up my lip and everything.
How many stitches did you have?
I
in
got
your
6
lip?
stitches.
You have a bill from the hospital?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Let me just give her doctor bills and everything.
Now, after that date on July 1st, when was the next time you saw Byron?
Well, he continued to, come around and continued to knock on the door and make little threats and different things like that. But the next actual event where I did actually have to file charges again was January the 4th this year.
And what happened?
I do have videotape. He came over again, banging, ranting and raving. He kicked the front door in that time, which I have videotape of that. And he left. I called the police, made another...
He's not the father of that baby, is he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, it's not like...
This is just videotape of today, January 4th, 2005, where he's been kicking at my door. Just continuing to destroy the door that he's already destroyed numerous times. Byron, Germany. Black, 38, about 180 some pounds. So he drove off, just kicked the door, just kicked it all apart. And he kicked my window, trying to kick my window out, but he kicked the screen, broke the screen door. He couldn't get in the door, he just tried to kick, he just keep destroying the property. Just keep destroying it.
When was the last time you had sexual relations with the defendant?
Not since the first incident. We haven't really been communicating.
You mean not since July 1st?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you told me before you started that you had already told him not to come around. Was that before or after you became pregnant?
I guess it was around about that time. It was all pretty close together, you know. Things are just spinning out of hand at that time.
Yana, I was there the day before that.
Oh, yeah, I know you were. And then you took off and you stayed out all night.
Well, we went to the casino.
So?
When we go to the casino, your phone doesn't work in there. And apparently, I guess she was trying to call me and she didn't get through.
Well, when did you
and
tell
got
her that?
upset.
Shh, listen to me.
In the casino, 24 hours.
Am I speaking to you? When did you tell your girlfriend that you were going to be out all night and you wouldn't be coming home?
I didn't think I had to report to her. She knew I was with him and we were going to go do a couple things.
You picked him, my friend.
Yeah.
That same thing I tell him? Oh.
And it's a pattern.
Just a second. Do you and I have to have a...
Okay.
Ask him to come up here, would you, please?
Step up.
Right here. I run this show. Do you understand? You don't speak until I speak to you. If I ask to speak to you, you'll stand up there, you'll tell me your name, you'll answer questions that I ask you. Other than that, I don't want to hear from you. We understand each other?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yana, when she goes places, she don't call me and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I mean, she does it, and when she gets back...
Well, let me ask you this question, Sir Lancelot. How would you feel if she went out with her friends, or with whomever, and stayed out until 8 o'clock in the morning, didn't call you, and you were home all night waiting for her to come home?
I didn't stay after 8 o'clock.
I'm asking you a question. This is my story. I'm allowed to make up the facts in my story. How would you feel if your girlfriend, who you were expecting to come home, stayed out all night and traipsed in at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning? How would you feel?
I mean, I'd probably be a little upset, but I mean...
Ooh! You'd probably be a little upset, Byron.
I wouldn't double lock the doors and block your phone numbers out from the phone so you can't call or get in.
Well, that should have told you something, my dear. She didn't want to hear from you. She didn't want to see you. She was really annoyed.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your friend says, what am I going to be friendly with him for? He's an idiot.
Right.
See? You knew you'd come in handy.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Regina Shields says ex-boyfriend Byron Germany kicked in her front door and split her lip. Byron claims Regina injured herself when she swung a cup at him.
Byron, you can't give her a fat lip, my dear.
I didn't hit her on the lip. She hit me with the cup, and then on a moment...
Where did she hit you with a cup?
On my elbow.
What bone did she break?
She didn't break no. She swole my elbow out to there. Oh. But when, the police took forever getting there, but when the police did come there, I told them I wasn't trying to press no charges.
Well, how did her lip get split?
Well, her lip got split when she was swinging the cup. She hit her own self with the cup. And I was pushing her back, and I think when I hit her hand, it hit back and hit her lip. I know it sounds wild, but that's what happened.
It's possible. And it all wouldn't have happened if you hadn't kicked in the door.
I didn't kick in the door, I pushed it open.
Pushed it in, kicked it, shh. Pushed it, kicked it. It all wouldn't have happened if you just went home, let her cool off, go back to the casino, lose another couple of bucks. You could have done a whole bunch of things instead of pushing in the door.
Well, when she gets angry like that, she stay like that for some days.
Then what you do is you stay away for a few days.
But I had something in the house I needed to get. And I was
what?
I had some money in there. I wanted to get my money, and then I was going to go and let her do her routine where she'd be hot for a week or two.
Now, what about this video that I just saw of you driving back and forth and then leaving the house?
I wasn't driving back and forth. I was backing out.
Okay, you were backing out. Why were you there?
It's my house. It's my place.
How long has it been since you lived there?
I mean,
Byron! How long has it been since you lived there?
I'm with her 24/7 there. I'm just off and on.
I'm talking about January.
That was, I think that was July. On the video. What's the date on that?
January 4th.
Oh yeah, I remember now. Yeah, 'cause I was back. I forgot. So many incidents. You don't understand, y'all. There's so many incidents I can't remember it.
What were you doing there?
I think that day, I think I didn't answer my phone. I remember right. And I was trying to call, and she put me on the block and other stuff. And then when you pull up to the door, we got a little surveillance, and she likes to talk through the camera to you, and it irritates you because you're standing there and can't get in your own place.
I got a restraining order.
I see it.
Yeah. Here's the protection order. That was for what I had to fight at that time.
That restraining order is dismissed.
That was from the first incident.
This one is dated the 4th of January, 2005. It was filed.
What, is that the restraining order?
That's the complaint.
The complaint, yeah.
Mm-hmm. She doesn't want you around anymore, Byron.
I mean, I don't have no problem with it. Like I said, my lease is up.
When was the last time he lived there?
It's been before the first incident.
Before July?
Yes.
Okay, and he hasn't been living there since July?
Yeah, I've been there off and on. I've been there.
What do you mean off and on you've been
like,
there?
I'll come and she'll get mad and I'll go. I mean, I don't have no problem.
Byron, really, unless you want to spend a lot of time in jail, you should stay away from her.
I'm not trying to spend no time in jail.
What I'm telling you is I'm giving you the best possible advice, Byron. If you don't want to spend a lot of time in jail, you're going to stay away from her, because once you've had a history of domestic violence, eventually a judge is going to get fed up with you and say, Byron, you don't seem to get it. And maybe you'll get it if you do 60 days.
But I've never been charged with, I've never been charged, but everything's been dismissed.
What I'm telling you, Byron, is she doesn't want to see you anymore.
Then she should stop calling me and telling me, what are you doing? You ain't coming by here.
You have proof that she does that?
You're going to ask her, but I know she's not going to tell you the truth.
Right.
She just gets in those moods. Like I said, when I stay out all night, or if I don't answer my phone, or she thinks she hears women in the background, she's going to go off and she's going to do what she does now. And that's the only reason why the doors end up like that. Before that fat lip, I never put my hands on her. She did it with herself
No,
with
you
the
did.
cup.
You did. You put your hands on her. I'm not saying that you hit her. I'm not saying that with all the scuffling, that maybe the cup hit her lip. That's possible. But for the fact that you kicked in the door or pushed in the door, it wouldn't have happened.
I understand that. One time before, she's got that little bump right there. She had a hammer, hit me with a hammer, swinging a hammer at me. And when I pushed her back, she bumped her head with the hammer.
He's extremely violent. Extremely violent.
Oh, she's extremely
just
violent.
a second. You have a bad temper?
I can.
Yeah, I know. And I know that you do. And I know that when he pushed his way into your house that day, things got hot and heavy. Right?
Really, I'm scared of him.
Now, listen to me. Things got hot and heavy. Is that right?
It's already heated, but I wouldn't hit him because I know he'll hit me back. I know he'll hit me back.
Yeah, I've been hit with bricks, 2x4s.
Well, then you're an idiot.
Cell phone.
Then listen to me. Then you're an idiot. If you've been hit with bricks and hammers and glasses and cups and you keep going back, then something's not right. Then your friend says, what am I going to be friendly with him for? He's an idiot. Right?
Right.
See? You knew you'd come in handy.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Regina Shields claims ex-boyfriend Byron Germany kicked in her front door and assaulted her.
Yana, can we put him over there with her? She's going to say I'm an idiot.
Well, don't you think you're an idiot? Listen, if you get hit with bricks and hammers and cups and she's vicious and you keep going back.
Yana, it's not like she...
Shh. Does that make you smart?
No, don't make you smart, but she's not beating me, literally beating me, but I'm saying she will hit you with something.
Protecting her.
She'll break a curtain rod up and hit you.
If he got...
Just wait a second. So now I've got Byron. I've got curtain rods, bricks.
It gets worse.
Hammers.
2x4s.
2x4s.
Yeah. And cell phones.
Cups. Cell phones.
Yeah, cell phones. House phones. We had to replace the house phone 3 times because she wants to beat you with them.
Byron, you're right. Go over on that side.
Nah, I'm just saying. I mean, I be trying to give him advice too, like he just need to leave her alone. You know?
See? Wisdom.
Yeah. You know, she's complaining about the doors. I mean, I have damages too. She tore up cars. She done kicked doors, and I got a Hummer. She beat it with an iron, like you iron. I was going to pull out the driveway, then bam.
Ask him why he stays.
If I ask him why he stays, we may turn into an R-rated program. Why do you stay, Byron?
I mean, I love her to death. She's a good girl when she want to be, but what I'm trying to say to you, I mean, she does things too. I mean, I bought a car and I only had it 3 days, and I got my cousin. I know it sounds strange. My cousin hit me on the expressway, knocked me to the guardrail. I only had the car 3 days, and she said, "That's what you get for not giving me no money." I mean, that's not right. She was in the car with me. We both could have ended up seriously hurt.
He's trying to say I'm money hungry. That's what he's trying to say.
Well, maybe you are and maybe you're not. Anyway, Byron, I don't know whether she loves you or not, but all I can tell you is if you don't stay away from her, there's going to be a problem. And you're going to have this baby, and then there are going to be a whole host of other problems. Do you understand? Because you're going to want to see this baby, you're going to want to visit with this baby, and unless you learn to control yourself, and she learns to control herself, because my sense is that she knows how to get your goat. But you can't touch her.
No, she kicked his car before. He just bought a car.
Listen to me. I believe she's got a bad temper.
Can I say something, Judy, please?
Sure.
I know when a bad situation is getting ready to get out of hand, the only thing I ask of him is just leave. When I get angry, I can easily go and do things like that to his property when he does to where I live, but I don't do that. I just ask that he leave, and if he doesn't leave, I call the police.
Listen to me. I know you sound as if butter would melt in your mouth. What he's saying is that when you're not here in a courtroom situation, you can have a really hot, volatile temper. That's what he's saying. And I have a tendency to believe him because I think that he doesn't do the right thing, but I don't think he's full of baloney. And I think you are a little bit. I'm not saying he does the right thing. He doesn't do the right thing. Staying out all night, not the right thing. Not keeping in touch with you, not the right thing. If he's fooling around, not the right thing. But you know how to get to him so that when you bring the decibel level up to a certain point and then you say, now you have to go home, Byron. Well, you've already got him all worked up. Her lip got split, and her lip wouldn't have gotten split if you hadn't punched in the door. So you're going to pay for all those medical bills, which come to about which come to about $630. Better find somebody to fix your door for about $500.
Yana, and I hit her in the lip. I shouldn't have to pay.
I don't care whether you hit her in the lip or not, but for the fact that you pushed in the door, there wouldn't have been a scuffle and her lip wouldn't have gotten busted.
All she had to do was answer the door. He could tell you. He was right there.
Just a second. She didn't want to answer the door. She doesn't have to answer the door. There is nothing written in the Constitution, Byron, that provides that she has to answer the door because you knock on it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,130. I suggest you stay far away from each other unless it's pursuant to a court order of visitation for this new blessed event that's coming next month. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
38-year-old business owner Greg Hardy and his girlfriend Jill Connor are suing their neighbors, loan officer Tianatra Patrice Manley and her daughter, 15-year-old Whitney, for car repair bills and damage to a bicycle.
Yeah, this is case number 575 on the calendar, the matter of Connor Hardy versus Manley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
According to your complaint, Mr. Hardy, there came a time several months ago when your girlfriend discovered that her car had been hit. Nobody left any information as to the perpetrator of that hit and run, but you went on a sleuthing expedition in your neighborhood, and you came up with the defendant's car, and you found that there was damage to her car, same location, same color paint as happened to be on your car. When confronted, the defendant first acknowledged, then denied that someone else, I think you, were driving the car, but that wasn't their responsibility because although their car had been in an accident, you hit a
metal garbage can.
A metal garbage can, not her car. Later, which is the second part of your complaint, you claimed that while acting very innocently, the defendant ran over you while you were on your bicycle, causing you medical bills, lost wages, pain and suffering, et cetera, et cetera. So you want the damage to your car, you want all the aggravation medical bills as a result of being hit by the defendant with her car. When was your car hit?
December 23rd. I walked out of the house and noticed that my car had been sideswiped on the front swale.
You have a picture of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
How far do you live from each other?
I think we have about 5 or 6 homes between us.
How long have you lived there?
6 years.
And you? 5. Never had any problem with each other before?
No.
Nasty.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of paint was on your car? Your paint and what other paint?
And a dark green paint.
Another dark green. Okay. What made you think, Mr. Hardy, that it was Miss Manley's car that caused the damage?
Well, on Christmas Eve, I took a walk down the street. We live on a dead-end street, so I knew if there was somebody on the street that damaged the car, There was a good possibility the car would be there. I walked down the street and saw the damaged vehicle in her carport. I knocked on her door.
Where was it damaged?
It is damaged on the front passenger side. We have the pictures.
It's on the side of the car.
Jill's car is parked on the swale with traffic. Her car was sideswiped on the driver's side, which means if a car was going down the street, most likely it would be on the passenger side damage.
What kind of car do you have?
A Lexus. I have my photos as well.
Can I see your car?
Yeah. I only have damage, a dent, 2 dents in the front side of my car. She has a swipe, and my car hit a metal dumpster at McDonald's.
Well, you don't know that. You weren't driving the car.
Yes, ma'am, that's true.
They told you that that's what happened?
Yes, ma'am, that's true.
Who was driving the car?
My uncle Patrick.
You were with Patrick?
Yes.
Had you borrowed the car?
Yes.
When?
My mom had given it to us a couple days before Christmas to go to McDonald's because she was cooking.
So on the same date that Miss Connor's car was damaged?
I'm not positive.
Well, that's what it is. A couple of days before Christmas. Christmas comes the same time every year.
Thursday night.
That's December 25th.
It was at nighttime I gave him the car.
She said a couple of days before Christmas, which would have been the time that this happened. Whitney, when you came home, did you immediately tell your mother that you had been in an accident?
No, I didn't.
Did your uncle?
No, he didn't.
Why not?
Because we were afraid that we wouldn't get our Christmas gift since it was right before Christmas. And we didn't want to upset her.
So how did you hide the car?
Well, at the time, my mom was driving my grandmother's new Dodge Ram truck. So the car is parked in the carport, and she doesn't usually have no reason to go on the side of the house, and she hasn't seen it.
So you concealed the fact that you were in this accident. Who owned the dumpster?
McDonald's.
Did you tell them that you hit their dumpster?
No, ma'am.
And how did that happen that the car hit the dumpster?
Well, as we were driving to the drive-in, we were arguing over the radio station, and he was like slapping my hand away from the radio station so I wouldn't change it. And I grabbed the wheel, and the car kind of swerved and hit the dumpster.
Now, let's leave that for a moment. When you approached Miss Manley, what did she say?
I knocked at the front door. I asked her, had her car been in an accident with my car on the street? She told me she had not driven the car in 4 days. I knew nothing about it. I asked her to come outside and look at her car.
Was she surprised?
Oh, she was very surprised to see the damage on her car. Called Whitney to the carport door. She asked Whitney if Whitney had driven the vehicle. Whitney said yes, she had driven the vehicle.
That's not true. That's not true.
Don't speak.
Sorry.
And that she had sideswiped my girlfriend's car on her way to McDonald's.
Listen to me.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, but that's not true. Okay.
What do you think? I don't hear? I heard what you said, and I told you to be quiet. You're going to have an opportunity to respond to him. Go ahead.
Whitney said yes, she had driven the car. She had hit Jill's car on the way to McDonald's. Stated that she was putting on her seatbelt at the time of the accident and had just swerved over and rubbed the car and was afraid to tell anybody.
Whitney doesn't even know how to drive.
Listen to me. It's my job to figure out who's telling the truth and who's not. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do?
I told her that I would like to call the police. Patrice said this is not a good idea to call the police because Whitney is not covered by her auto insurance, and she would be more than happy to just pay for the damages if I brought her an estimate. She wrote down her name and phone number.
Let me see it, please.
I left that on the door.
Listen to me. When it's your turn, you will speak.
Okay, I'm sorry.
This is her handwriting.
Yes, ma'am.
And you wrote down your name and phone number.
Yes.
And put it on his door.
Yes.
For what reason?
Because I had to talk with her on what happened because she never said anything when he came. He asked her, I asked her, did she know about an accident to her car? Whitney said no. Okay, after that point, she didn't say anything else. So therefore, while he was there, if I was going to write down all that information, I would have given him my insurance and other papers.
No, that's not true, madam.
Why?
You usually don't get an opportunity for me to answer your questions, but I'm going to do it for you because you seem to be speaking out of turn. And maybe if I explain to you why you would give him your phone number instead of your insurance information, you will understand. Because what he says is that your daughter said, yes, she drove the car, she had an accident, which sounds right to me, that you said, don't call the police because my insurance isn't going to cover her because she's only 15. Give me an estimate and we'll pay for it. And you gave him your phone number. That's a logical explanation. Now, say nothing, because I've answered you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
As I went to the car, he started calling me a black, all these words. He kicked the car door, and he said I messed with the wrong cracker.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Greg Hardy and his girlfriend Jill Connor say their neighbor, 15-year-old Whitney Manley, sideswiped their car. The couple also claims Whitney's mother, Patrice Manley, ran over Greg's bicycle.
You gave her the estimate, and what happened?
She said that the estimate is too much and that she wasn't going to pay for it, and she told me do what I have to do, and that was it.
Did she come to your house with an estimate?
Yes, she came to my house.
Right.
She said she knew it was me. Sorry.
That's all. There would have been no reason for you to go to her house with an estimate unless she had said to you, bring me an estimate. Right? If her daughter had denied hitting your car and having an uncle hit some trash bin on the same day, there would have been no reason for you, unless you're psychotic, to bring her an estimate. Right?
Correct.
Now let us hop over to what you did later on the bike.
Sunday, we believe January 9th, she brought the estimate down to Patrice. Patrice said she was not going to pay for it. It was too much money. Do what we have to do. We called the police officers back down because we have a hit-and-run report from the first incident.
I'd like to see it, please.
The officer went down there, spoke with Patrice, stated that since she agreed to pay for it...
Don't tell me what the officer said.
That's true.
Okay.
No, that's hearsay. I
Okay.
just want to see whether the report was made on the 23rd.
When they went to McDonald's, it was on the 23rd that evening.
Let me explain something to you, madam. I don't believe your daughter. I don't believe your daughter didn't drive the car and hit Jill's car. I believe that that's exactly what she did. And I believe that she acknowledged that the day that he... listen to me. I believe she acknowledged that to him.
She did.
And I believe the story that she's telling me now with hitting a dumpster in a McDonald's parking lot is a whole lot of who shot John. Because coincidences sometimes happen in this world. But if there's a more logical basis for what happened, I usually go with the logic rather than the serendipity. Let's move on to the bicycle, sir.
We needed to have our license tag number because we reported to Jill's insurance agency. They needed to have the license tag or some information of Patrice to do a follow-up case. Patrice's car disappears for a length of time. I go for a bike ride on January 20th, the morning. I see Patrice parking in
across the street.
A field adjacent to her house.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear an echo.
Okay.
She's parked in a field, catty corner to her home. I notice that she is running across the street to her door. I pedal down the road. I stop in the street. I said, Patrice, are you not paying for Jill's damages to the car? And Patrice stated, no, she will not pay for the damages.
Are those the words that we used?
At that time, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Then I went over to her car, which was in the field, called Jill at work.
Who owns the field?
It's Broward County public property.
Okay.
Went to the car, called Jill and gave her the auto tag. Patrice was coming back to her car. Then we had a little bit of an altercation.
Was the damage still on the car?
Yes.
Tell me about the altercation.
Basically, we argued about who's going to pay for the car and why she's denying.
What did you say to her, and what did she say to you?
I stated that I can't believe she's not paying for the car. To do such damage while living in the same neighborhood is ridiculous to me. Why would a neighbor act like this? And I told her she was a liar, and she got into her car.
What did she say to you?
I don't remember her exact words, Your Honor.
Did you call her any names?
I called her a liar.
Other than that?
I called her a B word.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Yes.
Well, you know, when I ask you what the altercation was, and if what you're going to give me is oatmeal, then I'm not going to believe you.
Well,
do you understand?
Right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Greg Hardy and his girlfriend say their neighbor, 15-year-old Whitney Manley, sideswiped their car. Greg says, on a separate occasion, Whitney's mother, Patrice Manley, ran over his bicycle.
Did she say anything to you?
She made comments back to me. I don't really know what she said, to be honest.
Do you remember what you said to him?
When I came out from the house, he was on the back of the car on the phone. He had his dog with him, a bulldog this big, while he was on the bike. As he was talking. I did not say anything. As I went to the car, he started calling me a black, all these words. And I didn't say anything to him because I didn't get upset. I just didn't say nothing. I got in the car and I rolled down the window. He came next on the driver's side. He kicked the car door and he said, I messed with the wrong cracker. I then asked him, what is a cracker? He said, I'm going to get you. He proceeded with the dog, he hopped on the bike, and he proceeded to the street. As I'm driving off, he's in front of my car, would not let me pass. I went around him to not hit him or anything. I went around him. As I went around him, I don't know if the dog stopped or the bike stopped, whatever stopped, but his wheel was under my car because he was still trying to get in front of my car. And then as soon as that happened, when my back tire hit his back tire, he fell off the bike, and I stopped right there. I didn't move, left it as is. He said, I got you now. I got you now. So I didn't say anything. I said, no, I got a good Negro lawyer, is what I told him. So he then picked up the phone and called the police. I, as well, called the police. 2 police came out to the scene, as well as the paramedics.
Can I see the police report on that, please?
Yes. On the last page is...
Shh. Were you taken by ambulance from the scene?
Yes, I was.
At his request.
Shh. What difference does that make?
Because there was nothing wrong with him.
Well, how do I know that? I'd like to see the medical report. Is this your injury on your ankle?
Yes.
Looks like it got caught in the spokes of the bicycle.
The front crankshaft, yes.
So now I have a few questions for you, Mr. Hardy. Why did you pull out your bicycle at the same time that she was pulling out her car?
I was on the driver's side door when we were arguing.
Yes.
And then she had not yet started the car, or maybe she had just started the car. I have to go up the street. It's a dead-end road. I have to go forward. We're both have to go forward.
Well, I understand that, but
I
you
go
both...
first.
Listen to me.
Okay.
My friend, you don't have to go forward at the same time. You've just had an altercation with a woman who was in a car that weighs 3,000 pounds. It would seem to me prudent to hang back in the field that is the property of Broward County, play with your dog for 15 minutes while Miss Manley leaves. You've already gotten the information that you wanted, so there's no need to have any further interaction with her. Is that a fair statement?
That's correct.
Unless you wanted to bug her, which you might be able to do if you drove in front of her car with your dog at your side, so she would be going at 5 miles an hour instead of 25 miles an hour until she got to a place where she could turn off. Is that a possibility?
It is a possibility.
Right. So you could have avoided this whole part of the conflict if you just stayed back and played with, what's your dog's name?
Indy.
Indy. In the field for a couple of minutes. Why didn't you do that?
Well, I didn't expect her to run me over in a car, and I was going to the bike path, which is just right past the bushes, so I can get onto the next street. I was already in motion first. I did not expect her to hit me with the car. She came up from behind me after I was already riding down the street.
Well, Mr. Hardy, I don't buy it.
Okay.
The alternative was for her to stop her car and just wait for you to get to where you wanted to go. You could have done that, right? Said, listen, this guy is behaving like a big baby, and he's just trying to get my goat, and I'm going to turn off my car and wait 5 minutes for him to disappear. But you both got a little bit hot under the collar, and your bicycle went over, and the dog, according to you, pulled you over, and that's how you got hurt.
No, the dog pulled me to the right. The police officer stated that my bicycle was left in the middle of the street, and that is why they didn't deem her a ticket on the accident.
They sure didn't, according to the police officers. According to the police officer's report, police officer says, based upon the position...
2 police officers. It was 2.
What word didn't you understand? Don't talk. This is not a tea party. Do I give you an opportunity to tell your side of the story?
But I didn't finish.
You may not have finished, madam, but I'm getting the information that I need. And so far, with regard to this aspect, you don't seem to be losing. With regard to whether your daughter hit Jill's car, you lost there. Because your daughter drove your car, didn't tell you, and hit her car. And if you believe her that she didn't do it, that's your problem. So you're going to pay for the damage to Jill's car. But Mr. Hardy's going to pay for his own stupidity and not waiting in the field with his dog until you took off. Because I think what he was trying to do was just annoy you. You understand that, Mr. Hardy?
Well, I don't understand.
You understand. I'm glad you understand. You may not agree with me. That's
Well,
your prerogative. That's your prerogative. You don't have to agree with me. I'm not here. It's not American Idol. It's not a popularity contest. I listen to what, to me, is common sense. It is not common sense that your girlfriend's car was damaged on the same date as she had control of her mother's car. Her mother's car came up dented with a baloney story about hitting something in McDonald's that they didn't report to McDonald's. That doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense that you just happened to get in motion first and felt as if you had to leave the property first while this 3,000-pound car is following you. That doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. Let me see an estimate for your car, Jill. Is your car fixed yet? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,173. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. Step out. Now this is case number 597 on the calendar in the matter of Willis versus Banchler. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Miss Willis, you've been taking care of Miss Banchler's daughter for years.
Yes.
She first came to live with you because you were married to her father?
Yes.
He's in prison?
No, he's just not around at all.
Left.
Gone.
And you have how many children with him?
None.
You have children of your own?
I do, right.
But he brought this child into your home?
Right.
When?
August 28th of 2000.
How old is she?
She's 11. She'll be 12 in June.
And you've been taking care of her ever since?
Solely.
When did your husband leave?
In 2002.
Where were you?
In Washington State.
What were you doing there?
I live there.
What you want, Miss Willis, is you want support for this little girl from her mother, because you've been taking care of her, according to you, with no support from her mother.
None.
Ball's in your court, madam. I'd like to hear you.
I have evidence here of money order receipts as well as a letter that I wrote. I have package receipts that I've mailed packages to
I'm not
her.
interested in packages.
Okay.
Forget packages. Packages are not support. Okay. How much support have you sent for your daughter since 2002?
There's one for $150 here.
Give me just a second. I have to do this. 150. Go ahead.
There's one here for $30.
$30.
One for $100. One for $150. And one for $50.
Who were those money orders made out to?
They were made out to her father. Only one of them was made out to Oki.
She's never made one out to me.
What was the date of the last one?
September 8th, 2003.
Okay, since September 8th, 2003, you have sent no support for your daughter.
Not cash.
Well, that's all I'm interested in. It's cash. How do you support yourself? With packages?
No.
Your boss at the end of the week give you packages?
No.
Well, at the end of the week, your boss gives you money.
Right.
Well, that's support. That's what people barter in this country. You give them dollars, and they give you bagels and lox and milk and chopped meat and chicken. You know, that's how we survive in this country. How did you expect your children to survive since September of 2003?
I felt like that was her father's responsibility.
Wrong.
So I sent her to him. He said that he would take care of her, and obviously he did not do that.
Well, when did you find out that he split?
I found out when Judge Judy called me.
You didn't know that before?
No.
Well, that's interesting. So the last contact you had with your child was over 2.5 years ago. Is that right?
Yes.
Why is that? Did you move?
No. I just moved in September. Before that, I stayed in the same house. She was out here last summer also, and I let her at her mother's house, and I let my daughter call over there to speak with her grandmother. My daughter speak with her grandmother to tell her happy birthday. She answered the phone. My daughter said, "Mommy, like, what are you doing out here?" She didn't even speak. You know, she passed the phone to her mother instead of talking to her daughter. I called back the next morning to speak with her. Her mother told me she already left back for Washington.
Listen to me. Since Miss Willis has been caring for your daughter, you provided $480. That amounts to 32 cents a day. Do you think that's enough?
No, it isn't.
What kind of a job do you have?
I'm a custodial.
How much do you earn a week?
$400.
Here you have a child that you expect to exist on 30 cents a day. It's not her responsibility to support your child.
She took the responsibility.
No, she didn't. She didn't adopt your child.
At any point, she could have sent my daughter back to me at any point.
That is the most ridiculous statement that I've ever heard. If you chose to have a baby and not be a mother, that's your prerogative. If you were smart enough to say, listen, I'm not the maternal type. I'm not good at raising a child. You probably can do it better. I'm going to let you do it because I can't, or I'm not interested in doing it. That's honest. But don't tell me that you've got this burning maternal instinct in your stomach and all she had to do was call you and you would have taken your daughter. Because anybody who is a parent, they wake up in the morning and they go into the nursery and they say, gee, my kid's not here. You know? They don't wait 2.5 years.
I didn't wait 2.5 years. I've tried on multiple occasions to call them. They told me that I cannot call or send her any more packages.
Listen to me,
That's what
my
her
friend.
father
Listen
said.
to me very carefully. At this point, Miss Willis is a legal stranger to your child. At any time, you could have petitioned the court for immediate custody of your daughter. I doubt that you can do it now. I would think that any judge that would give you custody of your child at this point had to be missing one in his six-pack. However, there was a time immediately after the child left your custody when you could have done that. So you can relinquish custody of your child to somebody else, but when you relinquish custody of your child to a stranger, you pay support. And what Miss Willis is asking for, as far as I'm concerned, is a minimal amount of retroactive support for the child in the time that she supported the child. What she's asking for is $5,000 over the course of 4 years. It's a little more than $1,000 a year. Figure it out. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She had numerous opportunities to get her daughter back.
I've been denied the opportunity to do it, not necessarily by the plaintiff, but by her father.
Well, she's my daughter. I couldn't imagine her even going back with her.
I don't accept the fact that I'm going to have a custody issue with her. She is my daughter.
I will fight to the end to make sure she stays with me forever.
Insurance agent Deborah Kreider is suing her former neighbor, telephone operator Gordon Barnes, for damages due to an assault. Gordon claims Deborah is a racist who tried to run over his wife.
All rise. This is case number 292 on the calendar in the matter of Kreider versus Barnes. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Ms. Kreider, you and the defendant used to be neighbors.
Yes.
You moved.
Yes.
According to what I read, on the day of your move, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you. You were suing him for that assault. Mr. Barnes says that he did not, in fact, assault you, and that you hit his wife with your car that day. So, how long were you neighbors before you moved?
Approximately 2.5 months.
But you had lived there for 3 years, and Mr. Barnes and his family moved into the complex where you lived?
Yes.
Okay. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Good. On what date did you move?
We started the move on the 2nd of March, and the 4th was when we were going to get the remaining things out, so...
Is that when this incident occurred, on March 4th?
I was taking boxes to my son.
So why don't you tell me what happened?
My son called to let me know that he was finished with the boxes he had, that he needed more boxes, so bring them up to the apartment. And I went up there, went inside, and I went into the kitchen to...
Of your apartment?
Of the apartment,
Of your old apartment. Now, what floor did you live on?
It was a twin, side by side.
And the Barnes family lived in the other apartment?
Yes, on the other side.
I understand. So it's really...
Like a house,
like
only
a house.
Split in half.
Go ahead.
My son had asked permission for a few of his friends to be over while he was doing it because he was alone, and Brooks and I were at the house. And the children, the girls, two of the girls came out in the kitchen and said, Mrs. Kreider, there's someone at the door. So I walked out, and when I walked out there, Brooks was at the door, and Mr. Barnes was screaming at him. And I got out there and I said, look, we're moving out. Go back to your house and leave us alone, excuse my language. Just leave us alone. And he looked at me and he said, this isn't over, B. I know where you live, and he proceeded to describe my house. He said, you live in a greenhouse with white shutters. And I was just, I was taken back. I couldn't believe he was describing where I lived. And foolishly, I stepped outside my door and went to say, what the heck are you talking about? And I don't remember anything after that. I came to on the sidewalk. I felt like my jaw was broken and my knee. And when I came to, all I saw was my son swinging. I guess he had pulled a mailbox out of the ground, and he was swinging it at Mr. Barnes to keep him away from me. And then my other son came out when I was conscious. Things happened in the interim to get me inside. So they got me inside. I was sitting in a chair, and then I felt like I was going to get sick to my stomach. So I went to move into the bathroom downstairs and passed out in the dining room again. So the ambulance was on its way.
Can I see the medical reports, the ambulance reports, and the police reports that you have, please? So it looks to me as if you went to a medical provider that day and had x-rays of your jaw, of your knee. Okay, so you went immediately and had an x-ray. I'm not interested in stuff that happened months later. Okay, Mr. Barnes, now I'm prepared to hear you, sir.
Okay, Judge Judy. Mrs. Kreider is the biggest racist I've ever met in my life.
Just tell me what happened on March the 4th.
I was getting ready to take my wife to get some furniture for my daughter. I was sitting in my van, which was parked in front of my house, and my wife was getting ready to get in the car. So as she was walking to get in the van, Mrs. Kreider came up the hill. She was swerving her car, and she hit my wife, and she was laughing as she was doing it. I seen this from my rear view mirror. As I got out, helped my wife up, took her back to our house. If you can see, our house is very close. The doors are very close. I have pictures of it to show you. And I told Deborah, I said, Deborah, you're going to jail for this.
Okay, just a second. You saw the plaintiff's car knock your wife down.
Right.
You went and picked your wife up. Now, when did you say something to her?
Okay, as soon as I made my way back across my lawn to get my wife to the house, Deborah pulled her car around inside the driveway and ran inside the house. And she stood in the doorway. She didn't go anywhere. She stood there laughing at us as I'm helping my wife into the house. I yelled to my kids, call the cops, call the cops, call for ambulance. I said, Deborah, you're going to jail for this. I said, I know where you live at. When I said I know where you lived at, the same face that she had when she hit my wife, it's like she changed. And she punched through the screen door. She hit me with the door, and she was making her way around the door. When she stepped down, she was coming to get me. I pushed the door back, and she fell in the little bush that was right there.
What's this broken car window that...
That's a window that she punched through. She punched through with her fist.
When?
This happened when we first moved, the week we moved here. She punched the window, and she told me.
What did she say?
She said, she rung my doorbell. I opened the door. I said, yes. She said, I broke your window, and you're getting out of here. She's shaking her hand. She had a bread. It was just wrapped up. She said, you're getting out of here. And she said, I'm telling you now, we won't have you in our neighborhood. Go back to the ghetto. You're getting out. This is something we heard on a daily basis.
Okay. I have a question for you.
Sure.
On the 4th, you knew that she was moving. Is
She
that
was
right?
evicted.
She was evicted?
Yes.
Tell me about the eviction.
My landlord served me with an eviction, and she served her with eviction. One officer called my landlord and explained how many times he responded to her in the past for a lot of violent things that she's done. My landlord went around to each of the neighbors and spoke about it. They told her each of the incidents that her family, her children, broke other people's car windows, all kind of things. My landlord, she said, Gordon, do you mind if I give Deborah a little time to leave? She don't have anywhere to go. I said, I don't mind, as long as they leave my family alone.
Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
And the landlord evicted her?
Yes.
Good. Now, Ms. Kreider, I just want you to answer this question. Is it correct that you were evicted from this residence?
Basically, but not for the reasons he's stating.
I don't care what reason.
Yes.
You were evicted after 3 years.
But I had already purchased my home.
Listen, this is a quick phone call. Am I correct that you were evicted from the house? Okay. Did you press charges against Ms. Kreider for running down your wife?
Yes.
What happened with that case?
When we showed up to court, she was arrested and she was in jail for assaulting another woman.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I took the mailbox post out of the ground, and I'll tell you, I wanted to hit him with it so bad, and I restrained myself from hitting him. I did not hit him with that, and you know what? Every day I wish I did.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deborah Kreider says former neighbor Gordon Barnes assaulted her on the day she moved out of the neighborhood. Gordon claims Deborah is a racist who tried to run over his wife.
Now, you were arrested for knocking her down with your
No.
car? Were you taken into custody?
No.
Were you incarcerated at any time within the last 24 months?
Within the last 24 months?
Yes.
I
Were
had
you
forgot, yes, one
Were you
time.
incarcerated at any time within the last 24 months?
Yes, over, but not an assault.
What were you incarcerated for?
All right, I had thought that the court date for their harassment charge, not any assault on her, because that was never filed, was on Tuesday. I went right by there, it was on Monday, and because I didn't show up at court and mistakenly had it even wrong on my calendar, that's why. And I was out that same night.
Ms. Kreider, so there was a harassment action pending against you that had been filed by the Barnes family?
Yes.
Was that your only arrest for harassment or any other charge in the last 24 months?
Yes.
What about your sons?
No, my sons have not been arrested for anything. My one son that is not here, that doesn't live with me, and he didn't live with me at the time. That's the one he was talking about.
How old is he?
He is now 20. He was 19 at the time.
And what was he arrested for?
He had been with me the day that we first went to the neurosurgeon. Because
what was he arrested for? You don't get arrested for going to the neurosurgeon.
What I understand, he had gone at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and had used a slingshot and shot out the back windshield of a vehicle that he knew to be the Barneses. This was after we had already lived in our house. We had already moved when Jason did that. So is what you're telling me that your 20-year-old son went back to the Barnes house and committed an act of vandalism against the Barneses? Yes.
That's outrageous.
Yes, it was.
Oh, it sure was. Now, Mr. Barnes, what happened with the assault case that Ms. Kreider filed against you?
Okay, I was arrested, and when I went to court, I pled not guilty.
Yes.
6 months later, they gave me a contemplation of adjournment, and which said that if I don't get in any trouble in 6 months, everything will be dismissed.
The disposition of that case was an adjournment in contemplation of dismissal.
Right. Exactly. Thank you.
Which is not a finding of innocence, sir. You understand that.
Right.
You chose to accept an adjournment in contemplation of dismissal, which says, I'm not going to fight these charges.
Right.
I'm going to sort of, if there's no further incident between myself and the plaintiff for the next 6 months, or anybody else, the charges will be dismissed.
Can I explain to you why I did that?
I'm listening.
Okay. The reason why I did that, because every time the police came to my residence, they questioned me. I mean, when I was calling her for broken windows and stuff, they would ask me, what are you doing in this neighborhood? Why are you here? Why are your family here? In a very racist way. And when I went to speak to a judge in regards to this case, he said, Mr. Barnes, when you go back to the ghetto, take Ms. Kreider with you.
Is what you're saying to me, everybody involved in the justice system where you come from is a racist?
In that town, 90% of them seem like it.
Okay. Now, other than involving incidents with the plaintiff, have you ever been arrested?
Never. Never in my life.
Never in your life?
Right.
Would you mind if I say one thing to you, please? It's offensive to me, very, that anyone would refer to us as racist. One of my son's best friends, Tyrese, lived with us for over 2 weeks. I helped his family out. My son plays on a football team, and they knew that we were being told that we were racist. And these boys just left. I mean, we're very close friends.
Let me ask you this question, Ms. Kreider. Why did you move after having lived there for 3 years?
Because
other than getting evicted.
Well, the reason why she did that, Mr. Barnes had just moved in December. Once she informed him that I had complained about the noise, he told her he would come over and speak to me. He was sorry that he didn't realize we could hear through the walls, because I could hear him and her fighting and being thrown against walls and where's my effing money and don't hit me in front of the baby. And my room seemed to be the focal point on the opposite wall. So instead of coming over to talk to me, he came over and threatened me. So I called the Broome County Sheriff's Department.
Listen to me, Ms. Kreider, that wouldn't have inspired her to evict you.
Right.
That
No, but my lease was up.
It doesn't make sense, madam, that she would have evicted you after 3 years of being a star tenant. I don't buy it.
All right.
Because it doesn't make sense.
Well, my sons were the witnesses to all this. So.
Fine. Which of you...
Can I say something? First of all, none of us are racist at all. And
Fine.
my mom, I I was in the car the whole time, and she did not hit her with the car at all. We were...
Just a second. Tell me your name.
Brooks Kreider.
Brooks. You remember March 4th?
Yes, I remember it. Shh. Sorry.
You were coming back from the new house?
From the new house with my mom.
With your mother. You're in the passenger seat of the car.
Yes.
And when for the first time did you see Mrs. Barnes?
I didn't even see her. We had pulled in to our driveway, and we had walked inside.
So what you're telling me is when you and your mother drove up to the house
They
on
weren't
that
even
day...
outside.
Why don't you let me finish?
Sorry.
That when you pulled up to the house, Mrs. Barnes wasn't in the driveway, and you did not see her outside. Now, tell me what happened when Mr. Barnes came to the door.
Well, my brother had his friends over there, and they had walked out into the kitchen and said, Miss Kreider, somebody's here at the door for you. So I had walked out with my mother because I had realized that it was him.
You had had difficulty with Mr. Barnes before.
Yes, many times.
So Mr. Barnes came to the door, and you went out with your mother.
Yeah.
Go ahead, tell me what happened.
Okay. So I had went out there, and then my mom had followed me, and he said, this isn't over, B. He says, I know where you live. Your house is green with white shutters. And my mom went outside, and then he punched her in the face. And he was standing out on the front lawn screaming. And then I had went over and grabbed the mailbox. We had a post, so I had taken the mailbox
It's funny
post.
to him. See how he laughs about it?
Yeah, I would. And
that wouldn't be funny.
And no. Well, you hit my mother.
Right. If somebody hit my mother, I would laugh about that.
Mr. Barnes.
Your Honor, I'll tell you. I took the mailbox post out of the ground, and I'll tell you, I wanted to hit him with it so bad, and I restrained myself from hitting him. I did not hit him with that, and you know what? Every day I wish I did because of all this stuff that he punched my mother in the face. I would never hit a woman, especially. That's just ridiculous. Anyway, I'd walked outside. I had grabbed the mailbox post out of the ground. My brother ran outside, and I was like, Jesse, get mom, because she was laying on the, she was like up against the brick, and she was passed out. And I had the mailbox post, and I was swinging it. And then he started screaming. His wife was at the door. He said, get my gun. And then...
I don't speak to my wife.
Yes, you do.
Mr.
Yes,
Barnes.
You definitely do. So anyway, she walked inside, and then Jesse's like trying to get my mom up, and my mom's like, she's finally like coming to. He gets her inside the house, and then I followed her. He had walked inside like a little while after his wife came.
Okay. Now, Mr. Barnes, what I want to see from you is a copy of the police report that you filed with regard to your wife being hit by the van.
Can I say one more thing? It's important. Anyway, when we were actually inside the house and we were talking to the police and we were talking to them on the phone, we had no idea that they were even going to say that my mom hit him with a car. This didn't even come up. Out of nowhere, when the ambulance pulled up for my mother, because we had called, my brother had called on the cell phone.
Just a second.
When the ambulance had pulled up, she started standing at the door, and she's like, she hit me with a car, and she started going hysterical, and I'm just like, it's ridiculous.
No, this is a supporting deposition.
That's what the police wrote up. He asked me and my wife to come to the precinct.
When did you go to the precinct? The next day?
The next day after my wife was taken to the hospital. And
I'd like to see the hospital report on your wife.
And believe me, that was the happiest day of our life when she moved. So we wouldn't have been angry at all. We was finally getting rid of this horrible lady and her family. And we filed order of protections. They never filed an order of protection. We was threatened. We have order of protection against her. Her son shot up my house twice, not once, twice.
You have a copy of that order of protection?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it.
The whole town knows her. That's why they issued it.
Shh. Listen to me, Mr. Barnes.
Right, it's funny again.
Mr. Barnes.
No, it's your story is funny.
She said the only black people she like is dead black.
Mr. Barnes, you don't want to lose by default here.
I'm very sorry.
This is very interesting, Ms. Kreider. The court in Broome County issued a final order of protection against you, and the final order of protection against you said that you were to stay away from Mr. Barnes and his entire family. Now, this was either after a trial or with your consent.
It's because of my son.
I'm not interested in because of your son. Yeah. It's a final order of protection that was issued by a court for a period of 2 years on February 21st. Explain it.
On December 22nd, my children and I went to go get our Christmas tree. Now, at that point in time, my 20-year-old, that is the reason why the restraining order is in effect, was still living with us.
Oh, no. Listen to me. This restraining order is not against your 20-year-old. This restraining order is against you.
Yes.
Not your 20-year-old.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
The date that we had gone to get that tree, we were not there. We came home.
So the judge made a mistake. The court made a mistake.
Can I say something?
No. Sit down.
Basically, what had happened was it was one judge that said that unless he does something again.
Do you have a restraining order against Mr. Barnes?
No.
So the only restraining order that exists, which is a final one, not a temporary one, after a finding of guilt, is an order against you in favor of the Barneses. Is that correct?
Yes.
Your case is dismissed, Ms. Kreider. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Pedroza versus Collazo. Step forward, please.
20-year-old stay-at-home mom, Christina Pedroza, is suing the father of her child, 22-year-old construction worker David Collazo, for the return of her belongings. David says Christina is keeping him from seeing his child.
Ms. Pedroza, you and the defendant have a young child together. Baby is about a year old. And you lived together for a short period of time, separated. And it is your claim that the defendant kept certain property that you amassed together that you should have. And that also you had certain of your personal property, clothes and stuff, that the defendant trashed or got rid of. Mr. Collazo said he kept what was his, what he paid for, and that he gave you ample opportunity to get your stuff, and he put it out on the porch, and it's gone. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell me when you lived together.
2000, 2001, 2002.
And when was your daughter born?
August 8th, last year.
And who is this?
This is my father.
When did you separate? When did you move out with the baby?
Like 4 months ago.
Is that right? You moved out in June?
Yes.
When you left in June, what property did you take with you?
The baby's clothes and her dresser and her little knickknacks, and that's it. He wouldn't let me get anything else. When I went in, I've got the police reports from when I lived with them. The police was called. The day that we went there to pick up this stuff, I had the police come with me, but he was so drunk, he was acting crazy. And
this is a lot more information than I think I should. This is Mr. Collazo, don't talk to Mr. Collazo, don't talk to her. Talk to me. You want to talk to her? Go outside. You want to talk in court? You talk to me. I want to know what property it is that you think that you are entitled to, Ms. Pedroza, and let's do it quickly, please, because I'm beginning to lose it.
Everything that I paid for, my recliner.
Well, you tell me what you paid for.
Okay. I've got receipts for my recliner that I paid for.
All right, recliner, just a second.
Right.
Recliner. Go ahead.
My dining room table and chairs.
Yes.
My bed.
It means that's the bed that you and Mr. Collazo shared.
Yeah.
I told you you could have everything.
Shh, Mr. Collazo. You're going to have a turn. I give everybody a turn.
I'm sorry.
If they're good, they get a turn. They're not good, they don't. Go ahead.
My clothes bag. He took all my clothes.
Oh.
I left them right there when Mr. Officer told me to leave.
Now, you purchased a recliner, a table and chairs, and the bed. What did you purchase it with?
My credit card.
So you don't mind if she gets the recliner, table and chairs, and bed, right?
Yeah, it don't bother me.
No, I want you to listen to me. Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
She can come and get
She could come and get it.
the recliner, table and chairs, and bed.
The recliner, tables, and chairs in bed.
Perfect, because they're on her credit card. You don't have to repeat that. And she is responsible for paying for it. Fine. So you're going to get your recliner, table, and chairs in bed, pick them up within 5 days. You bring the U-Haul it. What's next?
I have a washer and dryer also.
Was that also purchased on your credit card?
No.
Well, who purchased it?
That was given to me by my father. He purchased it from my brother.
Is that right?
Yes.
Washer and dryer? Did you buy that, Mr. Collazo?
No, but I helped her buy all that other stuff that she had.
What other stuff?
Girl.
Shh. What other stuff, Mr. Collazo?
Everything she wants.
No, just a minute, but it's on her credit card.
I didn't pay for all of it.
When did you work?
Don't, Miss Pedroza.
I pay for it.
Don't. Don't irritate me. I'm ready to kiss you both goodbye.
Your Honor.
Speak not. That's it. She's also going to get the washer and dryer because her father gave it to her as a gift.
Yeah.
Right? So, recliner, table, chairs, bed, washer, and dryer. You got it. Now, your clothes? Should have gotten your clothes when you went to pick up the baby's things in the dresser. Because he put the clothes out on the front porch. He doesn't have them anymore.
Listen, I went there with the cops, the sheriff.
Police.
The police. Yes. There was one cop. When I went there, I tried to get...
come in my crib when I'm asleep. You gonna come to my house when I'm sleeping? Just
Mr. Collazo.
Drunk, naked on the chair.
Shh. Mr. Collazo.
It's my house. I was chilling.
What did you have a discussion with him, Bird? Sure. And then if he opens his mouth again, throw him out.
This is the best way I can explain to you. If you keep it up, she's going to throw you out. Okay? And then I'd be forced to throw you out. You don't want that, do you?
Nah, Bob.
Okay. So you know what you do? Respect the court.
I'm
all right? Take your time. You all right?
Yeah, I'm cool.
Cool.
I'm sorry.
Where are her clothes?
I put them on the porch. The cop said, you know, because I was like, why you guys come to my house for? Just because she had the keys. She was already gone.
No, look at me. Look at me. Don't look at her. I don't want you to look at her. You put her clothes on the porch?
Right in front of the cop.
And the
he's like, oh,
listen to me.
He told me to leave, and I
police...
left, and then she was supposed to come back.
Whose mouth is moving?
Both ears.
And if both of our mouths are moving, who wins?
Judge Judy wins.
Just answer me. You put the clothes on the porch at the direction of a police officer. Is that what you're telling me? Were you present? The answer is yes or no.
I wasn't present when the clothes were put there, ma'am, but I was there when we went to pick up the clothes. Pick up her stuff a couple times with the chief of police.
Step up.
So I had no warrant coming on.
I have.
And what happened?
When we got there, David was very argumentative. He was drunk, and he was yelling at us to get out of his house. He was starting to push the chief around. The chief says, I don't need this, because he's a short guy. He was getting ready to call backup, and then he says, you know what, because they started arguing in the trailer, and then he said, well, you know what, why don't you guys just leave, get the baby stuff out, and you just go to court and get your stuff. But Christina's clothes, Your Honor, were still in the trailer. He wouldn't let him take it. Then, when he told her to come and get her stuff, she went there. There was no police, from my understanding, because I talked to the chief. No police officers went there when he said he put the clothes out there. There was no clothes out.
You don't know that. Mr. Collazo, you want to be a smart man? Shh, quiet. You want to be a smart man?
One day.
I want all of those things ready. And I want them all in reasonable condition. I don't want you to do anything nasty to them, because now I'm going to get to you with regard to seeing your daughter.
Thank you.
Okay. You have a drinking problem, Mr. Collazo? Been around the town for a long time. You have a drinking problem, Mr. Collazo. Because if you didn't have either a drinking problem or another problem with substances, you wouldn't be behaving the way that you are in court today. So you got a little bit of spirit from someplace other than your soul today before you came to court. I don't want to go into it with you, but I'm going to tell you this. If you made a baby, look at me. If you made a baby,
take care of my daughter.
Listen to me. If you made a baby, you have an obligation. You have an obligation to be a father. And that means having a job, being sober, making arrangements to see your daughter, and if she, for some reason, wants
to shake her butt.
You're not paying attention, sir. And I have to conclude that since you know who I am, that the reason you're not paying attention to what I'm telling you is because you are a little bit high. So I want you to listen to me. She can't have you around a child who's a year old.
Punk boy for the one to be smoking weed by my daughter.
Just a second. Mr. Collazo, look at me. What you're telling me is that Miss Pedroso is not behaving properly.
Yeah, what?
And not... Are you listening?
Yeah.
Or are you listening to your inner voices? You have to see to it that you see your daughter by going to court, asking for an order of visitation, saying, I do everything right. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I have a job. I'm prepared to regularly support my daughter. I want to be able to see her. And if she doesn't let you do it and doesn't let you see your daughter, judge is going to say to her, I'm going to take the child away from you.
Yeah, then where's she going to go?
She's going to come and live with you.
No, Your Honor, you know what? I have no problem with him seeing his daughter, but he is doing this, getting drunk, getting high, and...
How you know? You ain't
Because I know.
Miss Pedroso.
I go to work every morning. I wake up at 5:30 every single morning.
You
what
don't
do you do?
have...
No.
You shake your
but
butt.
He paid $50 for her birthday, and that's it.
Put him out. He doesn't get it.
He paid $50 for a birthday.
Pay careful
and
attention
that's
to me
it.
because I can't talk over two people talking. That's not the way I run this place. If he's not doing the right thing, and if you feel as if your daughter is at risk if she spends time with him, then you're right. But if he gets his act together, it's not right for you. You picked him. You had this baby with him.
I told him that. If right now he's got a job, yay. But he's still on drinking, doing drugs, and he's not responsible for that.
If he is,
and he doesn't
then you
pay
are
nothing.
right. If he is, then you're right. And he shouldn't see the child unless you're comfortable that the child is safe with him.
That's all I'm saying.
That's all. Meanwhile, you go and pick up 5 days. We'll prepare the order. The recliner table and chairs, bed, washer, dryer, goodbye.
Now, this is case number 259 on calendar in the matter of Siegel versus Starkey. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Well, stand up here. Miss Siegel, I assume this young man is the young man who you allege hit your car while he was skateboarding in a parking lot, causing the windshield to shatter. You want his mother and he to be responsible for the damage to your car.
Yes.
Miss Starkey says that you hit her son because you probably were driving recklessly through the parking lot, and she wants you to be responsible for his medical bills. He was slightly injured. You were very lucky. What is happening? What kind of look is that?
I got scars from it. I have a scar and then...
You could have been dead.
Yes, I know that.
So then you were very lucky.
Yes, ma'am, I was.
That's all. I knew I'd get there. All right, Miss Siegel, you want to tell me when this happened and your version of the events?
Yes, it happened May 30th of this year. I was driving through the parking lot of Albertsons. It was a full parking lot. I was going about 20 miles an hour.
Where were you coming from and going to?
I was coming from these stores right here, and I was getting ready to pull out on Justin Road. I was going through almost to the road that goes into Wendy's, and I look up, and there's a kid on my windshield. And I slammed on my brakes, and he flew off. I put it in park and went out and made sure he was okay.
What time of the day was this, about 3 o'clock?
Yeah, it was about 3 o'clock. I have pictures of my windshield, and I have a picture of the parking lot.
Let me see pictures of windshield, pictures
And
of
then
the parking lot.
I have pictures of my car, and there's an arrow with the damage. We've had the damage since been fixed.
You didn't take a picture of the dent?
No. I have a police report that says where the damage was.
Okay, I'd like to see it.
Okay. It's on the back right there. It's his statement, the police's statement.
You're very lucky. What's your first name?
Jonathan.
Jonathan, you're very lucky.
Yes, ma'am.
Must have a very hard head. Were you wearing a helmet?
No, ma'am.
Did you tell the police that you darted across the parking lot?
No, ma'am.
What did you tell the police that you did?
I didn't. They never took a statement from me, ma'am.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Police officer didn't lie. Police officer asked you a question, and you said the pedestrian, that was you, advised that he darted across the parking lot and never saw the vehicle.
I did see the vehicle, but it was further back in the parking lot. And when I got 3/4 of the way through the lane that she was traveling down, and then Heather, the lady that was coming the opposite direction of her, saw me and stopped. And like, I saw her, but I figured she was going to stop because the witness had stopped because she had saw me before I'd even gotten the street. So I guess...
So you figured that she would stop. You figured that she saw you too. You made a mistake.
Yes, I did.
There we go. That's why we're here.
But she also, I'm assuming she was on her, actually I'm positive that she was on her cell phone. And there was...
Just a minute, let's listen to me. You think, you assume, you're positive? What was it? You think, you assume, or you're positive?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Just a second. We're going to get there. So, one lady, I assume this lady was coming in the opposite direction.
Yes,
She
ma'am.
saw you and stopped her car.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you weren't in the right. You didn't have the right of way. You did not have the right of way. There's no stop sign there, right? And you're not supposed to be skateboarding in the parking lot, right? So you assume this lady saw you and stopped, so you assume the other person was going to stop because she must have seen you also, right? Well, what if she didn't see you?
That's what happened if she didn't see
Then you should have stopped because you saw her. It was clear you saw her.
There was no way I could have stopped.
Why? Were you going too fast?
Yes, ma'am. Because
Well, then you shouldn't have been going too fast in the parking lot, sir. That's not what a parking lot is for. What if there was a little child walking across the street? You would have hit the little child on your skateboard?
No, ma'am.
Well, you would have if you couldn't stop. If you couldn't stop, you were going too fast.
I would have moved.
Well, then why didn't you move if you saw her car?
Because of the moment. If the child was walking one way, I could have moved this way. The car was going at such a fast rate that I couldn't.
Miles an hour.
That's enough to where I could hit, and it's a bigger
Do you understand
vehicle.
what he's saying? He's making no sense. None. I'll hear you. Step up. Mother wasn't there. You were there. You were driving a car. You don't know who he is. You don't know who she is.
No, I don't know either one
okay.
of them.
You were driving your car. You saw him coming down the street.
I was pulling in right here. I saw her car. Her car was all the way back here when I saw her. I mentioned to my daughter, I said, surely she sees that child. She was on her cell phone, and he was 3/4 across this divider right here. He was almost to the other side when she hit him. It was not this child's fault. I don't have anything to gain from coming to court and
You're
testifying for
absolutely
this
right.
little boy. She jumped out of her car. I threw my car into park. I jumped out to see him because she hit him in such a force. He went up in the air. His shoe went off. He hit the windshield, bounced on the hood, bounced on the floor. And when I went to the boy's aid, he's on the ground, and at the time I assumed he was dead. And by her own admission, she was speeding 20 miles an hour in a 5-mile-an-hour parking lot. She jumped out of her car, cell phone in hand, screaming at this child. Excuse me, screaming at this child. You hit my car. Look what you did to my car. The whole time she screamed at this child saying that. At one point, the police officer had to tell her to shut up. And this child is bleeding from the head. He's bleeding from the arm. His shoe is off over in the other side of the car.
Was there a stop sign where you were? Were you crossing over?
I had actually just turned on to right here. I'm here on 407, fixing to turn into the parking lot to go to...
so you were just turned in.
And when I was turning in, she was here.
Okay.
And if she had been paying attention, she would have seen the child. There's no way she couldn't have if she had not been on that cell phone and had not been speeding.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He hit the left front corner panel. He hit me. He skated into the side of my car.
If I find that you were on a cell phone, I don't care whether he came in through the sunroof.
And later today,
You acknowledge that you did toss pudding out of the car.
Yes.
What kind of pudding? Chocolate pudding, vanilla pudding?
It was a vanilla chocolate swirl.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kim Siegel says 15-year-old Jonathan Starkey ran into her car with a skateboard. Jonathan says Kim was on her cell phone when she hit him.
Well, I'm pretty confident, based upon what you tell me, that she had a cell phone in her hand.
Oh, yes, she did.
Oh, I believe that. Now I believe that. I didn't believe it when he said it.
He was
because
horrified.
I don't think he saw it, because I don't think he was paying attention to anything. But I believe it when you tell me that she had a cell phone in her hand.
No. Okay, she was 30 feet in front of, there's a big space between where the Wendy's parking lot and C. There's no way she could have seen in my car or seen what I was doing. And I had both hands on the steering wheel. My cell phone was in my purse next to me. And I didn't yell at the boy. I got out to make sure he was okay. I got my cell phone. I called 911. She sat him down on the rock and was telling him not to move because he could have internal injuries. And all Jonathan kept saying was, I'm fine, don't tell my mom, I've fallen and gotten hurt worse, I'm okay, just let me go home, So?
No. What did that have to do with being on a cell phone?
Well, I wanted to say I wasn't.
Why would she say that you were on a cell phone if you weren't? Do you know her?
No, I don't.
She doesn't know this lady at all. Why would she say that you were on a cell phone?
I don't know. I wasn't on my cell phone.
Yeah, you were.
No.
Yeah, you were.
I was not on my cell phone, it was in my purse.
I don't believe that. There is a basis for you to tell me you weren't on your cell phone, but there's no basis for her to lie. And I don't think that you have to necessarily see somebody who's speeding through using a skateboard in a parking lot. It's not what he's supposed to do. I mean, there's no question. You understand that. You're not supposed to be on your skateboard in a parking lot, going too fast so that you can't stop. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, you're not blameless, but I believe you were on a cell phone. And since you're driving the car, and the car is a bigger piece of equipment, madam, you don't get a penny. I believe that you were on the cell phone. I do. I also think, stand up here, I also think that you have to accept a certain amount of responsibility for what happened. She wasn't looking where she was going because she was on a cell phone, but she wasn't looking out for a skateboarder. She's in a parking lot, and you were going too fast in the parking lot, and you got hurt, fortunately, not seriously, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of medical bills did you have?
I had to go, the ambulance ride there, and then I had to go to the hospital for the emergency room fee. And they had to clean up some stuff on my head and my arm.
Okay. Let me see the bills that you had.
Your Honor, can I say something? I was traveling only about 15 to 20 miles an hour. Police weren't really sure how fast. And he hit the left front corner panel. He hit me. He skated into the side of my car.
If I find that you were on a cell phone, I don't care whether he came in through the sunroof. I believe you were on your cell phone. That's what I believe. Okay. I believe that because you say you weren't. She says you were. And she has absolutely no reason to lie. Okay. All right, let me see the bills. Jonathan, your pain and suffering you have to deal with yourself. I'm not entertaining any applications for your pain and suffering because stay out of parking lots.
Yeah, I know. I'm way more careful than what I was.
Good. Now, when you're dealing with a pedestrian, you have to be so vigilant. That's why they have 5-mile speed limits in parking lots rather than 15 or 20. Because people dart out of cars, kids get into a car, they get away from their parents. You know, parents drop their hands for a second, kid darts out. So 20 miles an hour, you can kill them. 5 miles an hour, they have a chance. That doesn't mean a parking lot is there for your pleasure and for your amusement and entertainment. It's not, because she has to be vigilant looking for people coming out of cars, and she has to be vigilant with respect to cars in and out of the parking lot, but not somebody who's speeding at probably far greater speed than 20 miles an hour on your skateboard. You got me?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Now, if she had a cell phone in her hand, which I believe she's not entitled to recover, period, end of discussion. And you have to pay for the medical bills, madam, because she's not responsible, because you were at fault. He was no genius, but he's a baby. He's 15 years old. All right, judgment for the defendant on the counterclaim in the amount of $532. The claim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Got a phone call saying my son had been hit by a car.
He had hit right above my left tire and went up on my windshield, and I slammed on the brakes.
I was worried, and I shook the whole rest of the way to where I was going.
My windshield was shattered, and I have a kid on my windshield.
He said that she got out of the car, and all she was worried about was her car.
Shock, hysteria. I was a nutcase.
This child has had sleepless nights because of it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Fogg versus Hanson. Step forward, please.
John Fogg is suing his ex-roommate, Carol Hanson, for the return of his belongings and stolen money. Carol claims they were boyfriend and girlfriend, and John cheated.
Mr. Fogg, I gather that you moved into the defendant's home when you lost your prior residence. And according to Miss Hanson, you had a sort of a relationship. She wakes up one morning and finds you not home. She got very angry. She took all your stuff and she brought it to a friend's house, according to you, and you did that about 4:30 in the morning?
Approximately.
So tell me, what day were you unceremoniously evicted from Miss Hanson's home?
August 22nd.
How long had you been there?
3 months, approximately, Your Honor.
Were you a tenant? Were you paying rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have your own room?
Yes.
And where were you on August 22nd?
I was with my daughter.
Decided to spend the night at your daughter's house?
No, I didn't stay there. I went to the gun club and stayed there. They have a pool table and...
Why?
They belonged to the gun club. I didn't want to go home because she had wrote me a letter. On the 21st, she wrote me a letter that she loved me. And that left me a little apprehensive because she prefers women over men. And I didn't want to be involved in that situation.
Go ahead.
The letter came in on the 21st. On the 22nd, I got a cell phone at 4:50 when I answered it. At 4:50 in the morning, my things were thrown out. And also...
Just a second. The cell phone message was that your things were on the lawn?
They were on the porch at my friend's house.
You were taking them over to a friend of his?
Yes, I packed his belongings very neatly in bags.
Why did you do that?
Because he is a neat freak.
I'm asking, I know why you might do it, that he's a neat freak, but if you were angry because, according to your answer, you thought he was cheating on you.
Yes.
So if you were angry, how neatly did you pack up his stuff?
I did pack them neatly. I didn't roll them in balls or anything like that. I had a sick feeling in my gut that he was cheating on me. The feeling that I felt in the past when ex-boyfriends have cheated on me. He didn't come home all night, did not call.
Why didn't you just wait for him to come home and tell him to move?
Because I was afraid that he would charm his way back in. And I was afraid of risking disease.
Disease from what?
Diseases from sexually transmitted diseases.
Well, there's one way to avoid that.
Well, we didn't use condoms in the past.
I don't want to get so personal, Miss Hanson. I just want to explain to you that all you have to do is wait for him to come home, tell him to get his things out of the house. You don't have to have sex with him in order to tell him to do that. But you don't pack up his things in the middle of the night and go and put them on somebody's porch.
In my defense, I suffer from PMS and I maybe overreacted.
Fine. What items do you claim are missing, Mr. Fogg?
Several pairs of cufflinks, which I have pictures of. 2 rings that were in my suit jacket. The OxyContin.
What were your rings doing in a suit jacket?
Because when I left the other premises, I had to take, and it wasn't uncommon for me to put 2 rings in the suit jacket. I had pills, suit jacket, $500. Apparently what I'm thinking is when she moved the clothing, she must have heard the pills inside, and she went through that. The love letter was in there also, and it's all gone.
You said there was cash missing. Where was the cash?
It was in the pocket, because she always would go through my drawers. The drawers that I had, I would put pieces of candy wrappers in. Okay, and every time I come home, the candy wrappers weren't there. So she was always in the drawer. So what I did was, I went to the closet and had one inside the hinge. Those were never removed, so I put everything in there. Now, on the other hand, when I went to the police station, which I have reports here, on the 31st, because I was in enough trouble, I didn't want to have any problems with the police.
What do you mean you were in enough trouble?
Well, prior restraining order.
Against you?
Yes.
What did she say you did?
She claims that I pulled her hair in July, and she went to court 9803 saying I pulled her hair in July.
Did you pull her hair in July?
No.
Did you do it in June?
No, I never pulled her hair. If you read the report, it's a joke.
Report, please. Oh, yeah, I thought this was going to be easy. How much after you got this message on August 22nd that your stuff was being tossed did you respond to the location, Mr. Fogg?
I did the next day.
So, of course, it's possible that someone else took your property.
Well, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt.
It's possible that somebody else took your property. Isn't that right, Ms. Hanson? Right after you threw it out?
Yes.
That's possible. You're still responsible. Whether you took it, Ms. Hanson, or whether somebody else took it, you're responsible.
Well, 10 days later, he showed up with a police officer, which the officer told him that he would not be charging me and he could just fill out a missing items report.
Of course he was not going to charge you. He's not charging you with necessarily stealing it because there's not enough proof to establish that you stole these items, and I don't think that you probably did steal the items.
I did.
You may have, but I don't think you did. Certainly he can't prove that you did. However, he's a paying tenant. You cannot take his stuff and throw it out. And if you do, and if some of his items become missing or stolen by somebody else, you, Ms. Hanson, are responsible because the law says you may not do what you did. The law does not recognize PMS as an excuse for bad behavior. Do you understand?
I understand.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, yeah, this is case number 438 on the calendar, the matter of Water versus Boris. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mrs. Water, the defendant is your former husband, and you have 2 children together.
We have 4.
I only knew of 2 boys. You have
2 boys and 2 girls.
In any event, one of your boys was in need of a car. So you called your ex-husband because you knew that he had a car that was not running, an old car, 40 years old, a classic car, and you made the following agreement with him, according to your complaint, that you would invest your money in getting the car up and running if he would give the car to your son. What's your son's name?
Luke.
And Mr. Boris said, okay, go get it. It's laying over in my father's property because it's not running. So far, correct?
I went down and prepped the car. We pulled it out and cleaned it up. My son.
But it wasn't running.
It wasn't running.
And you took the car, and over the course of the next several months, you put the car in running order. and invested, according to you, almost $4,000 in the car. And at some point there came a problem because you couldn't title the car and get the insurance on the car and turn it over to Luke because there was some problem with Mr. Boris.
Yes.
And you ended up buying your son another car.
Right.
And now you're suing him for the money you invested in his car.
Yes.
So I'm going to turn to you, Mr. Boris, and ask you some questions, sir.
Sure.
First, tell me what year car this was.
A 1964 Falcon.
And how long have you had it?
30 years.
And according to your answer, it had been your intention always to give the car to one of your sons.
Correct.
So it's clear that you and your former wife had this agreement that she was going to fix the car and you were going to give the car to Luke.
Right.
And she did fix the car and invest thousands of dollars in it.
No, she said she had it fixed, but it still didn't run right. After spending that amount of money, it didn't run right.
She spent thousands of dollars on the car.
Correct.
How many thousands of dollars do you have documented that you spent on the car?
$5,293.
So what happened, Mr. Boris?
When they picked the car up, I only saw it one time after they picked the car up, and I had asked on several occasions to be included in the repair of the car because that was our dream. That didn't happen. Her new live-in boyfriend did the repairs on the car with my son, which upset him greatly because that was our thing, always.
And Mr. Boris, if that was going to be your thing, then why didn't you say, listen, if you pay for the parts, we'll leave it at my father's house, and I'll work with Luke on it, you know, whenever I can. Why did you, according to you, put it in shape so that they could move it?
She made the offer of, if I give the car to Luke, that she would pay for the repairs.
Right. Well, that's what I said.
She didn't want to include me in that, though. She said she would, but once they got the car, I never saw it after that. They took it somewhere else to a friend of his who builds race cars, and she wouldn't tell me where it was. I had asked several occasions.
How did you ask?
I'd like to go see the car. I'd like to see where it is, the progress of the car.
And what did she say to you?
No, it's being worked on.
Oh, that's not a nice thing to do. Why did you do that?
Well, I don't recall ever saying that. The car was at the mechanic's house for a month while he was rebuilding the engine and doing major work to it, and then we brought it home, and it was parked in front of the house until the police came by and told me that the registration was not valid, even though I had plates and tags. So we had to move it off the street. So we did park it at a friend's house who has some property.
Well, what do you need to get the car in a state where it can be registered and have proper tags?
Just a signed statement from him stating that he has given the car to my son, but he refuses to do that.
I have a thing from the DMV. My son has the proper paperwork. The reason that the DMV kicked it back out was because she tried to add her name to it. Her name
How
is
old is Luke?
16.
He can't register the car himself.
He can become the legal owner, though.
No, he can't. He can't. She needs an insurable interest in the car in order to get insurance on it. Anybody who wants to insure a car has to have an insurable interest in that car. Otherwise, you could take out insurance on my life, for instance, and then I wouldn't feel safe. Do you understand? So your 16-year-old son cannot own this property alone. He has to own it with a parent, with an adult, or with his guardian.
More than willing to be a co-owner with him.
Well, that wasn't your agreement.
And the agreement wasn't to make her the owner either.
No, she's not supposed to be the owner. But if she...
There on the paperwork, it's trying to show that she's trying to put her name on the title.
With Luke?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so what's wrong with that? She's just paid $5,000 to fix it.
Because my son told me once she takes ownership, because she bought him a new car. She went and spent thousands of dollars more for a new car rather than to continue to invest in fixing that car. And my son has told me that once she becomes the owner, she's going to sell it. And that was never the intent.
Miss Water, is it your testimony today that if you are successful, that it is your intention to give this car to your son, or is it your intention to sell it?
My intent was to get the car running for my son. I tried to do something nice because I knew he wanted to give the car to one of his sons. So I said, you give him the car, I will pay to have it up and running. He failed to follow through on his part.
No, madam.
He refused to sign a bill of sale.
He did not want to sign a bill of sale to you and Luke. He says, I don't have a problem with signing a bill of sale over to myself and Luke, but not
after
to...
I invested the money.
What?
It could be in my son's name, but as you state, it cannot only be in his name.
Correct. And he said, I'm not making my former wife a gift. I'm making a gift to my son. So he has no objection to giving you a bill of sale so that you can act as emissary to have the car registered and insured. Correct?
Yes.
That's not unreasonable. That was your agreement. Your agreement wasn't that he was going to reimburse you.
I have a younger son who also I had planned on once he reaches the age to pass that car on to him.
Listen, you can only pass the car to one child. You made an agreement with your former wife. Your agreement was that she would fix the car. She would pay to fix the car, and the car would be Luke's.
Right. And
It is only by virtue of the fact that the law proscribes a 16-year-old from owning a vehicle because he can't insure the vehicle that I come up with this solution for you, sir. And she is the guardian and custodian of your 16-year-old son, so you cannot sell this car without her permission. Are you following what I'm saying?
Yes, I would
Good.
turn the car after Luke is 18.
No.
It's a family heirloom. It's something I want to keep in the family.
Mr. Boris, listen to me very carefully, sir. You made an agreement with your former wife.
And Luke.
And Luke. And you will, and I will issue an order, that you will do a bill of sale to your son and you as co-owners of this car. And you will deliver that bill of sale to your former wife, giving her the ability, because that was your agreement, to register the car and insure it. If Luke chooses to drive it, that's fine. If he wishes to insure it, that's fine. If she wishes to keep that car on her property for the next 2 years until Luke is ready to take it himself, and I assume, sir, that you want to maintain good relations with your son when he's 18, I assume you're going to sign the car over to him.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
Perfect. That's the solution. So within 5 days from today, you will deliver that statement to your wife along with the agreement that when Luke turns 18, he will become the sole owner of the car. Is that reasonable?
That's reasonable.
Understand? Good. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm very frustrated. I put a lot of money into that car, and I wasn't able to get it registered so my son could use it, and he needed another car, so I have spent more money than I needed to.
She let her new live-in boyfriend do the work on the car with my son.
They're just allegations. I gave him plenty of opportunity. The only thing is he wanted me to fund his time with his son.
That had been something that my son and I had always planned on doing together, not some guy that she has living in the house.
He makes everything difficult.
It's been this way for years.
I just hope we can put it behind us.
John Cena, John's OnlyFans, কুস্তি ছেড়ে কাম ভিডিও পোস্টের ঘোষণায় চমক ডলিউড বিউড তারকা। 24 ঘন্টা এক ডিজিটাল ব্যুরো অভিনেতা ও বলিউড WWE রেসলার্সের জন্য জন সিনার খবরে থাকবে না তা কখনো হতে পারে? সোশ্যাল মিডিয়া মাতিয়ে রেখেছেন 46 বছরের 16 বারের বলিউড চ্যাম্পিয়ন র্যাপি মিউজিকের নিজের পরোক্ষ করার জন্য এবারের জন্য চলে এলেন অ্যাডাল্ট প্ল্যাটফর্মে। হায় ঠিকই পড়েছেন, জন যোগ দিয়েছে OnlyFans। কি এই OnlyFans হচ্ছে লন্ডনের এক ইন্টারনেট কনটেক্সট সাবস্ক্রিপশন সার্ভিস, যেখানে বেশ মোটা খরচ করেই সাবস্ক্রাইবারদের পছন্দের কন্টেন্ট ক্রিয়েটেড দেখা হয়। এখানে মূলত প্রাপ্তবয়স্কদের মনের রসদ মেলে। তাহলে কুস্তি অভিনয় ছেড়ে কি এখন কর্মচর্চার জন? যদি জনের ফায়ানারের একটা ভেবে থাকেন তাহলে তারা ভুল করবেন। আসলে শীঘ্রই মুক্তি পেতে চলছে পিটার ফেরেলিয়া পরিচিত আমেরিকান অ্যাডাল্ট মুভি ড্রামেটিক ঘরানা সিনেমা রিকি স্ট্যান্টিং এর জন্য চরিত্রের নামি রিকি স্ট্যানিং হলিউডের ছবি প্রচারের জন্য বেছে নিয়েছেন বহু চর্চিত অ্যালিন ফন্স। জন তার সাবেক টুইটার একটি মিডিয়াতে পোস্ট করে কুয়াপশনের রীতিমতো ক্লিক বেট করেছেন। তিনি লিখেছেন, একেবারে আদেক্ষা অবতরণ দেখান আমাকে সাবস্ক্রিপশন লিঙ্ক বায়োতে দেওয়া রইল। লিঙ্ক ক্লিক করলে পাওয়া যাচ্ছে রিকি স্ট্যান্ডিং বায়ো, যেখানে লেখা আপনি রিকি স্ট্যান্ডিং ডেরফিলার আনফিয়ান্স অ্যাকাউন্ট খুলে পেয়েছেন। একই স্ট্যান্ডিং এর বিখ্যাত ছদ্মবেশী সমাজসেবা, বিনিয়োগের ব্যাংক, সোশ্যাল ক্যান্সারিং জয় এবং ম্যাথন অভিনেত্রী মশাল ছবি ও মাসালাদার ছবি এবং ভিডিওতে পেতে সাবস্ক্রাইব করুন। তবে রিকি স্ট্যান্ডিং অ্যাকাউন্ট একটু আলাদা। আনফিয়ানশন অ্যাকাউন্টগুলির ক্ষেত্রে সাবস্ক্রিপশন থাকলে তারা হদিশ পাওয়া যায়, অর্থাৎ তাদের বিনিময়ের দর্শন। তবে রিকি স্ট্যান্ডিং ফ্রি ইউজারের বয়স ন্যূনতম 18 বছর হতে হবে। তারপর আনঅফিশিয়াল অ্যাকাউন্ট খুলতে হবে। জনের দুটি ক্লিপ আপাতত রয়েছে। স্ট্যান্ডিং আনঅফিশিয়াল অ্যাকাউন্ট এক্সপ্লেন ডাব্লিউডাব্লিউ রিটার্ন অর্থে বিক্রি হয়ে যাচ্ছে বলিউড ডলিউডি। রোমান রেইন্স ভবিষ্যতে কোন পথে? 24 ঘন্টার ডিজিটাল ব্যুরো ম্যাকমোহন পরিবারের নেতৃত্বে 20 বছরের বেশি সময় ধরে দাপিয়ে রাজত্ব করছেন দ্য ওয়ান্ডার বেসিংস এন্টারটেনমেন্ট, ডলিউড, বলিউড, ওয়ার্ল্ড ওয়াশিং, ডাব্লিউডাব্লিউই। কিন্তু ম্যাকমোহনদের দিন এবার শেষ হচ্ছে। বিক্রি হয়ে যাচ্ছে বলিউড ডলিউডের ম্যাকমিন পেশাদার রেসলিং প্রমোশনের মালিক চলে গেলে অ্যান বন্ডার গোষ্ঠী হাতে মিক্সড মার্শাল আর্ট ওরফে MMA ফাইট প্রোগ্রামিং কোম্পানির ইউএফসি পরিচালক এন ডোভার, অর্থাৎ বলিউড ডলিউড ও ইউএফসির মার্জও করে যাচ্ছেন। এবার শুরু একটা দুই তিন অ্যাটিক ফাইট প্রমোশন 2.1 বিলিয়ন মার্কিন ডলারের এই চুক্তির ফলে ফাইটিং রেসলিং হয়ে যাচ্ছে একই সত্তা। কোন অ্যান্ড্রোবার্ড গোষ্ঠীর হাতে বিক্রি করা হয়েছে বলিউড ডলিউড। চেয়ারম্যান ভিন্স ম্যাকমোহন তার সংস্থায় বিগত কয়েক মাস ধরে বিক্রি করতে চেয়েছিলেন 3.9 বিলিয়ন ডলারের বেশি হতে হবে মূল্যায়ন। তবে তার ভাবনার প্রায় দ্বিগুণের চেয়েও বেশি দামে বিক্রি। ডলিউড বলিউডের বিগত কয়েক বছরে এই ধরনের একাধিক বিতর্ক বিদ্ধ ম্যাকমোহনের মতো যৌন হেনস্থা ও অধিকতরের জন্য তাকে সাময়িকভাবে হলিউড পদ থেকে সরে আসতে বলিউডের র ও স্ক্যাম ডাউন এর মিডিয়া স্বেচ্ছায় শেষ হয়ে যাবে আগামী বছর অক্টোবরে মনে হয় হচ্ছে। ম্যাকম্যান পরিবার তার আগে বিক্রি হতে দিতে যায়। ম্যাকমোহন জানিয়েছেন এটাই ঠিক সময়। আগামী অ্যান্ড্রোভার্স গোষ্ঠীর সিইও এমানুল আলেখান বলিউড ডলিউড ও ইউএফসি এর বলিউড ডলিউড যদি পুনরায় গরিমা হারিয়েছেন বহু আগে, নতুন প্রজন্মে দুজন রেসলার্স বাদে কেউই সেভাবে নিজের ক্যারিজমার শো জমাতে পারেনি, কখনো রক তো কখনো এন্ডারটেলমেন্টের কেউই যে নিজের শো জমাতে পারেনি, কখনো রক তো কখনো আন্ডারটেকারের মতো বলিউড কমল করে। ডাব্লিউডাব্লিউইতে 59 বছরের কিংবদন্তি তৃতীয়বারের ছাতনাতলায় বিয়ে করছেন 45 বছরের গার্লফ্রেন্ড। জি24 ডিজিটাল ব্যুরো কিংবদন্তির বলিউডের রেসলার হাল্ক হোগান তৃতীয়বার ছাতনাতলায় যাওয়ার জন্য একেবারে প্রস্তুত। পেশাদার কুস্তিতে হোগান মহাক্ষত্র, তিনি বলিউডের রিংয়ে নিজের ছাপ রেখেছেন, আগামী প্রজন্ম দিয়েছেন অনুপ্রেরণা। হোগানের বয়স এখন 69, তিনি সদস্য আংটি বদল সেরেছেন 35 বছরের গার্লফ্রেন্ড স্কাই ডেলি এর সঙ্গে দীর্ঘ 1 বছর বেশি সময় ধরে মাখো প্রেম আসছে হোগান। স্কাই পাচ্চি হোগানের সঙ্গে প্রচুর ছবি ও মিডিয়া শেয়ার করেছেন ইনস্টাগ্রামে, তাই দেখলে বোঝা যাচ্ছে দুজনের রসায়ন একেবারে জমে ক্ষীর। হোগান বিয়ের প্রস্তাব দেওয়ার জন্য বেছে নিয়েছিলেন স্কাইনের জন্মদিনটা, সেদিন বলেছিল মনের কথা। স্কাইন পরে সেই মিডিয়া ব্যক্তিগত ইনস্টাগ্রাম অ্যাকাউন্ট পোস্ট করেছিল। হোগান প্রথমবার বিয়ে হয়েছিল লিভা কেলির সঙ্গে, তাদের দুটো সন্তান রয়েছে। এরপর 2010 সালে হোগান বিয়ে করেন জেনিফার ম্যাকড্যানিয়েলকে। 2021 সালে তার হাতছানি হয়ে গিয়েছে একাধিক ব্রিটিশ ট্যাবলয়েড। হোগানের আংটি বদলে ও প্রেমের একাধিক প্রতিবেদন প্রকাশ হয়েছে। স্কাই ডেলি খুবই এই প্রচার আলোতে থাকতে পছন্দ করেন না। তিনি পেশায় অ্যাকাউন্ট্যান্ট, যোগের প্রশিক্ষণ চেহারার মতনই। WATC লেসন আয়াতিতে জলদ্দ মেসি মশাল, গোলের পর গোল, মাতৃপক্ষ জ্যাং ব্যাং।